Choose Superior Water and Air for all your HVAC and water treatment needs. Call 974-9090 or visit superiorwaterandair.com. Superior Water and Air, we got this. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be sunny. Highs in the lower 60s. Tomorrow, much of the same, slightly warmer. Until some clouds move in later in the day. Then they stick around Thursday before moving out. Right now it's 41 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We have another juvenile who is accused of a serious crime in Weber County. In this case, 16-year-old Clearfield boy is being charged as an adult in connection with the fatal shooting of his 15-year-old girlfriend, Chanel Alvarez, at her home in Ogden. Here's KSL News Radio's Adam Small with more details.
Court documents are now accusing 16-year-old Hezekiah Plummer of shooting and killing his 15-year-old girlfriend, Chanel Alvarez, at her home in the early morning hours Saturday near 35th Street and Jackson Avenue. Prosecutors say Plummer was known to run away from his home in Clearfield and stay at Alvarez's home in Ogden. He was located and arrested in Davis County just hours after the shooting, and prosecutors now plan to try him as an adult for murder and several other charges. In a GoFundMe organized for Alvarez, her family says this was the result of domestic violence, saying, quote, "It's a pain that cuts deep, and our hope is that her story helps bring awareness and protection to others." Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
It's really tragic because this is Domestic Violence Month, and we have another domestic violence incident. We also have, sadly, another incident of a 16 or 17-year-old being accused of a murder case. All three of these are in Weber County, but there have been three filed just within the last month or so.
Wow. And these are all 16-year-olds?
One's 17, the other two are 16. But typically, as you know, in the juvenile system, they deal with kids who are under the age of 18, and then the adult system deals with 18 and over.
Right.
But there are situations, Holly, where a juvenile can be tried as an adult, and all three of these. So we've got this Ezekiel Plummer. Last week we had that Isaiah Carranza, who was accused of, it's a gang-related shooting.
Was that the Ben Lomond one?
Yes, at Ben Lomond. And then another one, Christian Ruiz. There was a street racing, and then it involved a shooting, a 17-year-old in that case. All three, two 16-year-olds and one 17-year-old are now charged in adult court with murder.
Wow. So break down for our listeners then how and when prosecutors may choose to charge a minor as an adult.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And it used to be, basically you're 18, you're an adult, you're 17 or younger, you're a minor, and with a couple of exceptions. But years ago, in response to the gang problem, authorities, and I was actually involved in this when I was on the gang project, wrote some laws that make it easier to bring kids into the adult system. And in these cases, if a 16 or 17-year-old is accused of a murder, they go straight to the adult system. Mm-hmm. There's no juvenile court proceedings at all. If otherwise you have, and I'll digress for just a second, 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-olds who commit serious crimes, very, very serious crimes. It's called the Serious Youth Offender Act, can be charged as an adult, but it starts in juvenile court. The judge there decides if it should go into the adult system. But for 16 or 17-year-olds accused of murder, they go straight into the adult system. And so in these cases, all three of these kids that we're talking about here, and I say kids because they are 16 and 17 years old, even though they have numerous crimes that are not murder, once you've charged the top-end crime, the murder, it goes in the adult system, and all the lesser crimes follow it. Obviously, that makes sense, so you don't have two different courts going on at the same time.
I remember our discussion last week of the shooting around the Ben Lomond High School, that he had something like 25 counts of discharging a firearm, right? But the murder was that top charge.
Right. So they charge him with, exactly 29 counts, 25 of which were for firing the gun. Because each time the trigger was pulled, the county attorney decided to charge another count.
Wow.
And so that's an aggravated murder. It would carry the death penalty if he was tried as an adult. But we cannot execute a minor in America, and Utah follows that as well. And even in Utah, you can't
when the crime was committed, even if they turn
Absolutely,
18 or
right.
25 or they become 40.
Right. Even if their 18th birthday is tomorrow, it doesn't. You can't charge. You can't execute them. You can charge them as an adult, but you can't carry out the maximum punishment. You also can't do life without the possibility of parole.
Interesting.
So a minor would serve what would essentially be 25 to life. I mean, it could be natural life. It could be very, very long time, but they wouldn't get life without or the death penalty if they committed a crime at the age of 16 or 17, even if it was charged as an aggravated murder. And in that case, the Carranza case, because of all the other factors that were going on, they charge it as an aggravated murder. The Plummer case, the one we're talking about now, this kid who killed his girlfriend is charged, I say just murder, but it's murder. It's still incredibly serious and probably would result in something like a prison term of 20 to life if he's convicted. But yeah, he'll be charged he is being charged as an adult. All three of these are, and it's odd, and I don't think it has anything to do with anything going on in Weber County, but 3 cases in Weber County. I mean, that county attorney up there must just be dying, and he's a great prosecutor. They do good work up there in Weber County, but having 3 cases involving juveniles at charged with murder is a tough deal.
Let me ask you a couple of other questions. So these kids that are now being charged with murder, are they being held in a juvenile facility or are they in a regular jail?
So typically they would continue to be held in a juvenile facility, and that can actually continue until they're 25 years old.
Oh, wow.
But often it will change once they're an adult. So my guess is, even though they're being charged as adults, they're probably, and I could be wrong, but typically they'll be held in the juvenile detention facility with other similar age offenders. When they go to court, they'll go to the adult court. When they go back to sleep, they'll go to the juvenile detention facility. That's my guess. I could be wrong. We may get a texter who tells me I'm wrong. But that's how we typically do it around the state of Utah, even with the Serious Youth Offender Act. Now, once they're committed to prison, especially once they turn 18, they'll go into the adult prison system, although the juvenile detention facility can hold individuals until the age of 25, technically, if they choose to, before they're transferred to the adult system.
Interesting. Are there a lot of differences between the juvenile holding facility and a jail or a prison for adults?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I visited both, and they look the same. You know, they feel the same. They're basically in Salt Lake County. They're literally across the street from each other, and they're lockdown facilities. The juvenile facilities have much more in the area of training. They're almost like a high school. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
they're
okay.
and with dorms, and there's school that goes on every day. There's counselors that go there. There are teachers. There are things that are going on much more in terms of trying to maintain the kid's life as it would be if they were on the outside.
Even with a murder.
Even with a murder case, right. Now, again, if they're held in the adult system, then they're just held, and there are some programs available for adult offenders, but they're nothing like what you get in juvenile court. I mean, we always, as defense attorneys, want to keep our kids in juvenile court as long as possible, and prosecutors aren't necessarily in a hurry to charge kids as adults because, I mean, the consequences are huge. Once you're in the adult
Right.
system, that every crime you commit after that, you're charged as an adult. So, and I think the juvenile system in Utah works very well, and I think the juvenile judges do everything they can to keep kids, because it's all about rehabilitation in juvenile
Right.
court. And once you get to the adult court, it's somewhat sadly more about just putting people away for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Look, we're learning more details about how the suspected Charlie Kirk gunman may have gotten access to the roof at UVU. We'll take you to the spot at UVU that News Nation's Brian Inton says was shockingly easy to access. Straight ahead.
Hey Utah, it's the water boy, Colson Firmage, a third-generation Culligan man. Kent, did you hear that? That's the sound of clean, pure Culligan water.
I did, Colson, but that's not what's going to make a splash today. Today only, October 21st, Culligan Water has an exclusive deal for KSL listeners.
You mean that hard, funky-tasting water that's about to become a thing of the past?
Exactly. Today only, you can get a Culligan whole home system and save an incredible $1,500. A huge discount that gives you whole home filtration, water softener, and reverse osmosis.
$1,500? That means no more crusty faucets, no more spotty dishes, and no more worrying about what's in my drinking water?
Think of it. Healthy, pure, clean drinking water, cleaner laundry, and even softer skin and hair. This is the biggest deal we've ever offered, and it's only available today.
So if you're sick and tired of hard water and want to save some serious cash, what's the play, Kent?
You have to act fast. Call us at Culligan Water right now, 801-509-9602.
That's right, 801-509-9602. Or check us out at CulliganSLC.com. This one-day deal ends tonight.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. There were 2 similar manufacturing plants, 2 plant managers. To increase quality, one set out to enforce the rules so there would be no more mistakes. The other set out to create processes where everyone could learn from their mistakes. The first manager stood above, the second stood within. Over time, the second manager had much better results. Collaborative, continuous improvement that leverages learning is why cars and planes are safer, electronics are more reliable, surgeries are more successful. Learning how to improve is what makes USU's Huntsman School world-class. The internationally known Shingo Institute and the MBA program, both at Utah State University, have teamed up with a powerful degree that teaches MBA skills, continuous improvement, and organizational excellence. Consider a Shingo MBA. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
When you switch to Progressive, you could save bundling your home and auto. Then you could put that money towards some of the surprisingly more expensive things in life.
May I help you?
I just wanted to request a late checkout, please.
Of course. That's $30 per hour for up to 4 hours.
Huh. Okay, but if you can offer a late checkout, then that probably means no one is staying in that room. So if it's empty, maybe I can just stay a few extra hours.
Oh, aren't you adorable?
Life costs a lot, so bundle and you could save with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
The new Inside Sources.
We're following a breaking news press conference that's going on in Israel right now. We may bring you to that, but currently Vice President Vance is addressing the media there in Israel, along with Jared Kushner and General Witkoff, to talk about the peace deal, the ceasefire, trying to get things back on the table. If something comes of that, we may break away to that. But we wanted to talk about a follow-up on the Charlie Kirk murder. News Nation got a close-up view of the roof where the suspected gunman is alleged to have killed Charlie Kirk. And if you recall, on September 10th of this year, Charlie Kirk was speaking at a Turning Point USA event at UVU. He was addressing the audience, and it was the first stop on the fall season tour for the America Comeback Tour. Turning Point USA, conservative youth organization that Charlie Kirk co-founded. He was fatally shot in the neck, and a young man, 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson, surrendered himself the next day. He is currently in custody being charged with aggravated murder, and the state of Utah has indicated that it is seeking the death penalty. But he was shot, Holly, from a rooftop building, and it was about 142 yards away. And it was interesting because people were wondering, how did he get on the roof? What was the proximity to the homicide? And what can you tell us about it? Well, joining us now is News Nation's senior correspondent, Brian Enton, who went there and looked up on the roof. Brian, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
So can you tell our listeners, Brian, how the roof would have been accessed?
So very easily, which is what surprised me. And if you go back and look at my video, I mean, I was just shocked. You know, the first time I went out there to cover when the assassination happened, and obviously everything was closed off, and that roof area was closed off for a long time. So I was able to see it from the ground, and you could tell that there was a direct line of sight, and it was 150 yards away, but you couldn't really get a feeling for how he got up on the roof or what the roof was like. But I was just back there last week. And, you know, all the crime scene tape is down, obviously, and things are more accessible. So I was able to get back behind where the roof was and up there. And what surprised me is it's not difficult to access at all. There's a walkway that goes from one of the buildings to the parking garage that's at the same level as the roof. So basically, once you get up on that walkway, which is totally publicly accessible, you just walk over to the roof, and they've got a big fence up now since the shooting. But before that, there was just like a waist level rail that you would just go over that little rail, which would just take a second. I mean, you just hop right over a short rail, and then you could walk to the edge of the roof and have a direct, line of sight to where Charlie Kirk was standing.
Wow, that's interesting. How do you think this will play in, I guess, with the ongoing investigation?
Well, look, I mean, I think Charlie Kirk travels with security. I've been at his events before. You know, he has bodyguards that are by his side, but there was obviously an issue where no one checked the roof, or, you know, especially. And look, you know, it's not like he's a president or a senator and they don't have Secret Service and that kind of thing, but this really was, I mean, it made it so easy, that it was so easy to get on the roof, and that it was the perfect position where you could, see Charlie Kirk, not be that far away. So I think they're going to go back and look at the security protocols, obviously. I interviewed the sheriff in Utah County and the undersheriff while I was there, and they're frustrated because of all these conspiracy theories that have come out, and there's been a ton on social media that, you know, that Tyler Robinson isn't a real shooter, and that Charlie Kirk may have been shot from behind and not from the front. And they are just like, you know, we're part of this investigation. We've been part of it from the beginning. We're locals. If there was anything strange going on, we would be sounding the alarms, and they insist that there's not, and they know everything. And Tyler Robinson actually happens to be in their jail right now. So it's interesting. Local law enforcement is just really just fed up. Even the sheriff said when he goes out, you know, people come up to him all the time and just say, I don't really believe that you have the right guy. And he's just like, I don't know what it's going to take, you know, to convince people.
Brian, I watched your video, and it was really interesting because you're right. The roof level is actually the same as the walkway level. So you literally walk out to the roof, and there was a short sort of gate there, or a little fence, but it was, like you say, about 3 feet. Now, watching your video, there's a big police fence up. But it made me think that it would have been very easy for people to have seen him walking out there. You know what I mean? Like, if it's public area, I'm surprised that, and I know this is a rhetorical question for you, but don't you think that that's an area, just from your observation, that it would have been easy for other students to watch this kid walk out on the rooftop?
Absolutely, and they probably did see him. And, we've seen the surveillance video of him walking to the scene, and he had the rifle in his pants, from what we've been told, and he's got that limp because the rifle is in his pants. And I actually interviewed a gun expert who, sounds kind of crazy, but he put a rifle in his pants to show me, and I have video of that too, that it is possible, even with a scope on the rifle, to put a rifle all the way in your pants as long as they're not too tight, and to just walk with that limp. But one of the questions that I still have is, he had to go upstairs, to get all the way up to that roof level. And you wouldn't really be able to walk upstairs easily with the rifle in your pants. So did he disassemble the rifle? It would be very hard. He had a backpack, but it'd be very hard to get the rifle in the backpack. It would just be too big, even if you tried to disassemble it. So there are still, and some people wondered, did he plant the gun and then come back? There are still a lot of questions when it comes to those sort of details that we don't have. And the sheriff, they're being very careful. They only want to talk about what's in the criminal affidavit, and I get it. In so many of these kinds of cases that I cover, like, the person ends up dead, and then they can just kind of say what they want to say. But this is going to be a trial in Utah. He's now got 3 lawyers, 2 lawyers coming in from California, so they have to be really careful about what they release. But it is interesting, like you said, he definitely probably was seen walking up to the roof.
I have one final question for you, if you don't mind, Brian. The FBI, in your story, you said they're conducting new interviews with people who were witnesses, and specifically people who had children at the event. Why are they looking at that?
Yeah, that's sort of an interesting component, and they're still doing those interviews, I found out, because, Utah is going after the death penalty, and one of the stipulations for the death penalty, one of the they have to have aggravating factors is, committing this crime in front of children. And there were young children. It was a lot of college kids, but there were also families there and people who brought their kids that were like 5, 6 years old. So they have to interview those families and get all of that documented, how many kids were there, how old they were, because that's going to play into the state seeking the death penalty.
Let me ask a final question, Brian. Did you happen to see the area where the video showed the killer, the alleged killer, jumping off the roof? Because it looked like it wasn't a big drop.
Yeah, I did. It's not very far from where I shot the video. And that's kind of another interesting thing that I thought about is, the fact that he took that risk to drop off, where he could have rolled an ankle or something, whereas he could have just walked back down that walkway that I showed, where it was just, he wouldn't have had to jump off the roof, but he chose to kind of go a different direction, jump off, different than the way he came. And that's something else I asked the sheriff, because a lot of the conspiracy theories out there are, well, he didn't have the gun when he was leaving, and the surveillance video is grainy, but the sheriff said, when you really analyze it, you can see that he has the gun with him, and then they ended up finding it kind of in a wooded area right there.
Right.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Brian. We appreciate that. We've been talking with News Nation's senior correspondent, Brian Inton, who was down at UVU. We have just a couple of minutes to pivot to the J.D. Vance press conference in Israel.
What are the challenges? What are the things they need from me? I heard from relatively junior troops very simple things that would make their lives easier that I'm going to take back to Washington and hopefully help them with. That's why you do a visit like this, not because of anything that's happening on the ground. On your question about what is the ultimate, authority in Gaza look like, I don't know the answer to that question. And I think what's so cool, what's so amazing about what these guys have done is that we're creating a governance structure that is very flexible to what happens on the ground in the future. We need to reconstitute Gaza. We need to reconstruct Gaza. We need to make sure that both the Palestinians living in Gaza, but also the Israelis, are able to live in some measure of security and stability. We're doing all of those things simultaneously. And then I think once we've got to a point where both the Gazans and our Israeli friends can have some measure of security, then we'll worry about what the long-term governance of Gaza is. Let's focus on security, rebuilding, giving people some food and medicine. If we get to the point where we're arguing exactly what the governance structure in Gaza is long-term, then we should pat ourselves on the back. That's a very good problem to have, but I won't anticipate that problem before we actually have it. I'll take a couple more and then we'll get moving. Ma'am. Could you speak up? Thank you.
We've been listening to J.D. Vance taking questions from reporters live in Israel right now.
.930 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. The American Civil Liberties Union has filed a lawsuit against the federal government on behalf of a University of Utah student who was arrested by ICE earlier this year.
The ACLU filed this lawsuit on behalf of 4 immigrants, including 19-year-old U of U student Caroline Diaz-Gonçalves, who was pulled over by a Colorado sheriff's deputy just minutes before she was arrested and detained by ICE back in June. She is now back home awaiting a decision on her asylum application. The new lawsuit claims ICE isn't arresting people like Gonçalves based on their immigration status and flight risk, but rather because of their skin color and to, quote, fulfill arbitrary arrest quotas set by Trump administration officials. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security vehemently denied those claims, saying their arrests are made off of reasonable suspicion. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump facing pushback after construction crews started tearing down a wall on the east wing of the White House, where the president's new ballroom will be connected. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has more on some of the other White House renovations.
Since taking office in January, President Trump has made numerous changes to the White House, including adding decorations he says are made with 24-karat gold leaf. His administration has installed 88-foot flagpoles, paved over the Rose Garden, and swapped out presidential portraits, even replacing President Biden's with a photo of his auto-pin signature.
The ballroom is estimated to cost $250 million, funded by the president and private donors. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 351 points to 47,058. Coming up, we've got cooler temperatures the rest of this week, especially in the overnights. We'll check weather coming up next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule it. 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm, I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
For over 75 years, Duke's Jewelers has been part of Utah Valley's story. Founded in 1948 by J. Melvin Duke, the Duke family has been helping yours celebrate life's biggest moments, generation after generation. Duke's is more than just a jewelry store. They're craftsmen. From repairing a treasured family heirloom to designing the custom engagement ring of your dreams, their expertise is trusted because it's been earned through decades of care, skill, and tradition. When you walk through the doors of Duke's Jewelry, you're not just a customer, you're part of the Duke's family. Because at Duke's, jewelry isn't just about sparkle, it's about legacy, memory, and love. Discover the difference of a family-owned jeweler where heritage meets craftsmanship. Duke's Jewelers, 220 South Main in Springville, or online at dukesjewelers.com. Duke's Jewelers, celebrating love, tradition, and community since 1948.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Heather Kelly?
We've got a new crash in Orem. This is just before University Parkway in Orem, and it looks like it's blocking the right lane and shoulder. UHP has not arrived on scene yet, so just use a bit of caution as they will be getting there very quickly. Other than that, you've got good speeds on the rest of I-15 throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties, both directions, especially trying to get into downtown Salt Lake. No delays anymore eastbound I-80, trying to exit at US 40 into Park City. And the earlier crash we had up in Ogden on Riverdale Road is gone as well. Join the KSL Real Estate Show at a special time this Saturday. Listen at 9 a.m. before the BYU Extended pregame show. Hear the latest about the Wasatch Front real estate market. That's this Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today, sunny with highs in the lower 60s. Tomorrow, much the same, until some clouds move in later in the day, and then stick around on Thursday before moving out. Right now, it is 43 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We ended with the press conference that was going on in Israel. Vice President Vance and others were speaking. There was a military leader, standing behind Vice President Vance. I identified him as General Witkoff. He's a military leader, but Steve Witkoff is there. He is not a military general, and I apologize for that mistake.
No worries. Okay, look, there has been a lot of talk about American democracy, what it takes to preserve it, and our next guest says that citizens need to uphold the norms of American democracy. So we're joined right now by Dr. Ava Weitzman. She's a professor of public management at BYU, where she also serves as the director of the Ballard Center for Social Impact, and someone that I really admire and get along very well with. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Weitzman.
Hi, Holly. Great to be with both of you.
So let me just start off with asking you to define what are norms. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so when I talk about norms, I'm actually thinking about them in the way that a Nobel Prize winning economist talked about them. And that is basically that these are things that we do, that we believe we should do, but that we're not compelled to do. So in that way, they're different from like rules or laws. And really it's our free exercise that allows us to make those choices. So that's how I'm thinking about norms.
So what was the importance of norms and laws? I think your description in this article was really quite helpful. I'm a lawyer, so I look at the laws and I look at rules and I look at regulations as the letter. But your comparison and contrast between norms and law was really, really quite interesting.
Yeah, so I think a lot of us do that, right? We look at the Constitution and we think, well, this is really about people who aren't me. This is really about lawmakers and what they can and can't do. This is about the judiciary. This is about the executive. But one of the things that I think is really interesting is that the Constitution is based on values. It's based on choices about what American democracy can and should look like. And there are really important roles for citizens in that. And one of the things that we can do as citizens is to see those values that are upheld in the Constitution and choose to uphold those same ideas in our daily lives. And so I think a lot of us think the way that you do, even though we're not all lawyers, right? We sort of focus on the law and what it explicitly says, but there's also this beautiful, rich tradition and set of values that upholds that Constitution in our daily lives. And that's what I wanted to help us think about a little bit.
So this article, which is in the Deseret News, by the way, in it you give an example of freedom of religion. Can you describe that for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I was just sort of taking the First Amendment to the Constitution, and I talked about sort of some of the rights that are described there, but I talked about the freedom of religion where the Constitution basically is saying that Congress can't make any laws like establishing religion or prohibiting us from practicing religion. But if you take that into our citizen space, that could look like people choosing to live their own religion freely, but also allowing other people that same right and the space to do that in, and respecting their spaces and their holy things. And I think it feeds into our behavior and our discourse if we go sort of beyond what the Constitution is explicitly saying about what Congress may or may not do, and we sort of think about the values that means that we can be upholding in our daily lives.
You know, and when we look at the Constitution and laws, Dr. Weitzman, we can read them, we can pull them up, we can look at the letter of what they say. But with norms, with what you're talking about, it's a matter of understanding, a matter of how society has decided to break these down. I don't know if I'm making much sense here, but it seems like they're every bit as important, maybe even more so, even though they're not so self-defining.
Yeah, they're really principles and values. I really love the way Kofi Annan put it. He's a Nobel Prize winner for he won the Nobel Peace Prize. And he said, no one is born a good citizen and no nation is born a democracy. Both are processes that continue to evolve over a lifetime. And I love that idea that one way to uphold the Constitution is to really understand what it's saying about the society that we want to live in, and then working as a citizen to create that society.
So a question for you, how like when you're looking at norms and you're looking at maybe what we could call also the social contract, right? How do you get people to be engaged and have it be effective without saying that, like, we're going to go dump a bunch of tea in the Great Salt Lake or something like that? Is that part of it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think really if we can teach each other what those values are, and I think it starts actually with the Constitution. I think the framers of the Constitution did a beautiful job of sort of laying out what we believe in and why, and rather than leaving that to other people, right? I mean, it is a democratic republic, so we elect our leaders and they make all kinds of decisions with or without us once they've been elected. But there is a space where we can say, hey, I'm actually building my society through my daily interactions, the way that I talk to other people, the way that I engage at work and at home and at church. All of these things are creating that same society that the Constitution was designed to uphold. And so I think it starts with like reading and understanding those values and talking to each other about them, and then choosing. And that's what's so beautiful about it, is we have the freedom to choose. We then choose to uphold those norms and values. And in a democratic society, that includes upholding the rights of people that we may not agree with, or preserving the freedoms of people who believe differently from us, or allowing people to criticize, government actions, even if we think those government actions are right. Like there's a lot of space here to create a society that upholds the Constitution without us necessarily each having to be in Congress.
I would like to ask you one more question, and we've only got about a minute left here, and it's probably a question that needs a little more time than that. But the timing of your article, I think, is really critical and really interesting. Do you think that what you're defining as norms and what we might define in other ways are changing? Because laws typically don't.
Yeah, I have seen, and I think there's good research to suggest that there are shifts in people's sort of understanding of what citizenship is and what it means and what our duties are. You can see it in civic engagement, like voting behavior, but you can also see it in the way that we talk to and about each other. It's not new for us to disagree with each other or to disagree adamantly. The founders disagreed with each other adamantly about some of the same stuff we argue about today. But the idea that we need to protect one another's freedoms in that disagreement, I think, is an essential component of what it means to live in this beautiful, free American democracy.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Weitzman. We've been speaking with Ava Weitzman, and she is a professor at BYU, but also runs the Ballard Center for Social Impact. Now, Nicholas Rossi, the man who faked his own death to avoid rape charges, well, he's been sentenced, and we'll break down the latest when we come back.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. When life gets overwhelming, some things tend to fall by the side.
I'm Carlos Sanchez from Draper, Utah. I was managing a business, helping out a business, doing paperwork and getting paid, and my wife got sick. We filed taxes, but then we got audited. And when I went and talked to the IRS, they didn't give me any choice. The IRS pretty much said, this is what you owe us, when are you gonna pay us? And we're talking quite a bit. But every time I drive, I listen to the radio. Jordan Wilcox, Jordan Wilcox. So I figure there's a reason these guys on the radio. So I called them.
Put an end to IRS collection and aggression today.
The amount that the IRS came up with, close to $250,000, and the offer and compromise was about $7,600. That's it.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com.
Go for it. The outcome, it was worth it. I'm okay.
endtaxworry.com.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto-pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Utah can count on.
Hey Utah, it's the Waterboy, Colson Firmage, a third-generation Culligan man. Kent, did you hear that? That's the sound of clean, pure Culligan water.
I did, Colson, but that's not what's going to make a splash today. Today only, October 21st, Culligan Water has an exclusive deal for KSL listeners.
You mean that hard, funky-tasting water that's about to become a thing of the past?
Exactly. Today only, you can get a Culligan whole home system and save an incredible $1,500. A huge discount that gives you whole home filtration, water softener, and reverse osmosis.
$1,500? That means no more crusty faucets, no more spotty dishes, and no more worrying about what's in my drinking water?
Think of it. Healthy, pure, clean drinking water, cleaner laundry, and even softer skin and hair. This is the biggest deal we've ever offered, and it's only available today.
So if you're sick and tired of hard water and want to save some serious cash, what's the play, Kent?
You have to act fast. Call us at Culligan Water right now, 801-509-9602.
That's right, 801-509-9602. Or check us out at CulliganSLC.com. This one-day deal ends tonight.
Big news for uranium workers in Utah. The RECA program is back, and you could be eligible for $100,000 in compensation if you worked as a uranium miner, miller, driller, or transporter before 1991 and got sick from radiation exposure. Join CNS Cares for a RECA education event on Wednesday, October 22nd at 10 a.m. at CNS Cares in Moab, 125 West, 200 South. Learn more at CNSCares.com or call 855-CNS-RECA. CNS Cares. They put care first.
Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. You can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. And Holly, this one is one of those truth is stranger than fiction stories, but a man accused of faking his own death to escape rape charges in Utah will now serve at least 5 years to life in one of those cases against him. Nicholas Rossi was extradited to the United States from Scotland after he was discovered living there under the name Arthur Knight. He was sentenced yesterday on a rape case in Salt Lake, and he's waiting another sentencing on another conviction for the same offense in Utah County. So he could very well serve 2 5 years to life sentences.
So let's talk about this. So the crime, the alleged crime, well, I guess now he's convicted. So the crime occurred in 2008, I think.
Right, both of them.
And he went, I think, to maybe the northeast of the United States, and then he went to Scotland, changed his name. He was not charged until 2017, and then the trial wasn't until 2025. So are there any kind of statute of limitations on these things?
There are, but it's interesting because what they'll typically do, what the state can do to overcome the statute of limitations, there's a couple of things why it's not a defense for him here. You can say, we're charging a person with this DNA profile or this person, and they're charged within the period of time necessary. But they did charge him in 2017, and after they got the rape test back, and for some reason the rape test took forever. I don't know why, but it took 9 years. But another thing, the most powerful thing the state has going for it here with the statute of limitations is the statute of limitations clock doesn't run if you're out of the jurisdiction.
Oh.
So if you leave Utah, you can't just leave for 10 years and come back and say, nah, King's X. I
did not know
the
that.
statute of limitations the clock only ticks if you're in the jurisdiction. So as soon as he left the state, even if it's just to go to Idaho, in this case, I think he went to Ohio, went to Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Statute of limitations, clock's not running.
Oh, interesting. So you mentioned the DNA rape kit took 9 years. I know that there was a backlog. That could have been part of it, but it seems like that's a very, very long time.
That was almost an inexcusable long time. And I don't know what happened there because these were, not that it's less serious because they're very serious, but these were acquaintance rapes, and maybe the law enforcement felt that it was
not
as serious. But I mean
we don't know.
Yeah, I'm pulling things
but
out
it was
of the air.
But that was a long time.
That's way too long.
Yeah.
And we do know, Holly, that it was taking a long time to get these cases processed at that period of time because our DNA technology wasn't the same as it is now. Now you can get a DNA test in much, much shorter period of time. So yeah, and then he gets charged in 2017. Of course, then he's charged with a crime, and they have to find him. By the way, he goes to Scotland, calls himself Arthur Knight. He still is claiming, it's hard to tell reading between the lines if he's even admitting that he's Nicholas Rossi.
Right.
He may still say, hey, you got the wrong guy, I'm Arthur Knight. But
so I remember that story. So he was found because he got sick with COVID and ended up going into the hospital, and Interpol had some information out, and it was, I think, a nurse at the hospital that recognized him, and that's how he was captured.
But DNA, I mean, it's just fascinating what it can do, because I'm old enough to remember when we didn't have DNA technology, and we were charging cases in the early 80s based on hair fiber analysis and blood typing and other things that were, and fingerprints, of course, all of which were reliable, but nothing's like DNA. I mean, DNA is just amazing. I brag, but I actually filed the first DNA case in Utah.
Wow.
The very first DNA case, and it would have been in early 90s.
Wow.
And we didn't have even the judge was like, "Scortis, what are you talking about?
You've been around a long time.
This
that's
is
all I'm
hocus
saying."
pocus, right? But now it's mainstream.
It is, and it really is very amazing. One last question on the Rossi case. He's been in jail already for 3.5 years. Does he have some kind of credit for time served?
His attorneys asked for it. The judge can grant it and may not. So if he's arrested in Scotland and he fights his extradition and he stays there for an extra year or two, he's probably not going to get time served because he wasn't cooperative. Right. But if he's been sitting in a Utah jail facility waiting for trial, typically, even if the judge doesn't order credit for time served, the Board of Pardons will. So they will do that. I do want to say one more thing about DNA before we pivot, and that is that you can get a DNA profile from a suspect on a crime, But unless that person or a family member gets a DNA test, all you have is a DNA result.
Sure,
you don't know who it is. So, but
I've seen crime shows. I know how that works.
Okay, right. Yeah, you do. You probably know more about that than I do with your medical background. But yeah, so they had the DNA technology is just something else.
So I wanted to pivot to another case, and this is it sounds kind of similar to me, but this was a man who sent a Facebook message to a woman and said, "So I raped you." That he sexually assaulted her in college. He just got sentenced. So this assault happened in 2013, and he was sentenced yesterday to 2 to 4 years in prison. That to me seems like a freaking slap on the wrist, barely.
That would not be a Utah case. We don't have a 2 to 4 year prison term.
Yeah, it's not Utah.
Yeah, I was going to say that we don't have an indeterminate term of 2 to 4 years. So every state has its own rules and laws with respect to the crime that is charged, and that state, wherever it is, might say, well, for this particular conduct, the term of imprisonment is 2 to 4 years. In Utah, a rape charge is 5 to life. Even a forcible abuse of touching crime is 1 to 15. So it's more than 2 to 4.
Well, I wanted to just talk about this just a little bit more. So he went to France, actually. So he had to be extradited back. He came back to Pennsylvania nearly 12 years after the victim first went to police. And I'm looking at an AP article, Associated Press article about this. It's just that it struck me that 2 to 4 years seems so low for this crime. So the judge took into account his guilty plea, his remorse, his long history of mental illness, and the assailant said he sent the messages of "So I raped you" as part of a 12-step program. But the victim told the court on Monday that the messages reopened wounds she had been carrying for a long time. It went years without being prosecuted. And she told her assailant, "The system meant to protect me protected you instead." And then she said prosecutors seem reluctant to file charges in campus sexual assault cases.
So that answers a lot of questions. This 2 to 4 was a plea bargain, was a result of a lesser conviction from what he could have been facing. And so the prosecution may have felt, we don't have the strongest case in the world. Let's get him on something. Let's at least convict him of something and put him in prison for, I agree with you 100%. 2 to 4 seems like a slap on the wrist, but they may have felt like there was a chance they could lose the case altogether.
Yeah. Can you speak at all to sexual assaults on college campuses?
Yeah, it's we try so hard in Utah and throughout the nation because, young people do incredibly foolish things. Alcohol is often a problem, and law enforcement has come a long way, Holly, from the days when, hey, that you were at a party, you weren't doing dumb things. That's not the way it is anymore. Whether it's Me Too or whether it's DNA, whether it's whatever else we have. And I trained the forensic nurse examiners because we do have ways of looking at signs of trauma, signs of the lack of consent. Mm-hmm. And that's been a hard thing to prove over the years. On these college cases is, well, he said, she said, and he's saying, I thought I had consent. She's saying, no, you didn't. How do you prove that? That's something that technology, like we've talked about with these, they're called SANE nurses, sexual assault nurse examiners. They can look at things. They can check things out. They can make findings that can, like even just abrasions or wounds or something like that, where they can say, this is something for a jury to look at and say, hey, that doesn't sound like somebody that was consenting to what was going on.
So then for anybody out there who's a potential victim or has been a victim, would your advice be just report it as quickly as possible? Because I think there's a reluctance to report because so many seem to not be prosecuted, or at least not in a timely fashion.
I think that's a very personal question for each victim. And I mean, if it was my daughter, I'd say, let's go report it right now. Some people tell me, and I've even had rape advocates say, I would never report. I'm not in that school because I train law enforcement and I think we do a good job. So to me, I'd be training it. The American Civil Liberties Union has filed a lawsuit against the federal government on behalf of a University of Utah student and others who were arrested by ICE in Colorado earlier this year. We'll talk about that when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. Prosecutors have filed charges against a 16-year-old boy who's accused of shooting and killing his 15-year-old girlfriend in Ogden over the weekend.
This is the shooting that happened in the early morning hours Saturday near 35th Street and Jackson Avenue. We're learning from new court documents the suspect is 16-year-old Hezekiah Plummer, and he's being accused of shooting his girlfriend, 15-year-old Chanel Alvarez, at her home. Plummer is now being charged as an adult for murder and several other charges. In a GoFundMe, Alvarez's family says her death was the result of domestic violence, saying, quote, "She had a heart full of kindness and a determination that could move mountains. We all believed she was going to do amazing things, and in her short time here, she already did." Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump made an online post saying several countries in the Middle East have offered to go into the Gaza Strip to use force to remove Hamas if Hamas continues to, quote, act badly. ABC's Jordana Miller has more.
There were attempted attacks on Israeli soldiers last night in the north of Gaza, earlier in the day yesterday in the south. Today, some reports of another attempt, but they have not resulted in the killing of Israeli soldiers, and that's why I think, we haven't seen another major flare-up.
Vice President J.D. Vance is in Israel today working on Phase 2 of the White House Gaza peace plan. Your money at this moment, the Dow bringing back a little bit from the 350-point rally it had earlier, right now up 296 points to 47,002. Coming up, KSL weather, mostly sunny after a cold night. We'll check that next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
If you have Medicaid and are new to Medicare, you may qualify to enroll in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan with a lot more benefits like dental, vision, and hearing, along with helpful support when you need it most. Now is the time to see if you qualify to enroll. It only takes a few minutes to find out if you're eligible. Our licensed sales agents are ready to help you understand your options. So this Medicare planning season, we can help you plan well. Learn more at humanaduals.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a dual-eligible special needs PPO SNP plan with a Medicare contract and a contract with the state Medicaid program. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, Doc, nice office. Quick question. If you had to choose, would you give yourself a root canal or run payroll?
Run payroll, no question.
Seriously? Have you run payroll before?
Paying my team with Gusto couldn't be easier. Gusto gives me unlimited payroll runs, next day direct deposits, and automatically files my taxes. Saves me time.
Wow, that's nice.
Over here, Doc. Can I run payroll too?
Choose payroll without the pain. Visit gusto.com/radio to sign up for free.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Or are they promising you up to 10% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you have a plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 upfront or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Annuities, non-advisory products. DBA Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions. Additional disclosures at trajanwealth.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Heather Kelly, what do we got?
We still have this crash northbound I-15 just before University Parkway in Orem. It had been blocking the right lane and shoulder, and traffic is backed up through the S-curves almost to Center Street in Provo. So that's going to add a good 5, maybe even 10 minutes to your commute, depending on how slow it's all going through that stretch. Once you get past the crash, though, you are at freeway speeds the rest of the way into downtown Salt Lake City. No delays southbound I-15 throughout Weber and Davis counties. If you're trying to exit Parley's Canyon, it does look like we have a little bit of delay right on that connector ramp coming out of the canyon on westbound I-80 just as you try to change over to I-215's east belt. That's heading southbound. Haven't seen a crash in the area, but something's definitely slowing you down there. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we're looking at sunshine and a high of 61 degrees today, 65 tomorrow, but clouds move in and there's a slight chance for some rain. Right now it's sunny and 46 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So the American Civil Liberties Union in Colorado is suing federal immigration officials there over alleged unlawful arrest of immigrants, and a Utahn, Brazilian immigrant from Utah who was detained by immigration authorities. You recall this several months ago, was held for 15 days in Colorado last June. She's actually one of the plaintiffs in that lawsuit. The suit claims immigration officers are making warrantless arrests without probable cause. KSL News Radio's Adam Small has more.
The ACLU filed this lawsuit on behalf of 4 immigrants, including 19-year-old U of U student Caroline Diaz-Gonçalves, who was pulled over by a Colorado sheriff's deputy just minutes before she was arrested and detained by ICE back in June. She is now back home awaiting a decision on her asylum application. The new lawsuit claims ICE isn't arresting people like Gonçalves based on their immigration status and flight risk, but rather because of their skin color and to, quote, fulfill arbitrary arrest quotas set by Trump administration officials. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security vehemently denied those claims, saying their arrests are made off of reasonable suspicion. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
So if you recall, Gonçalves was driving a vehicle in Colorado. She's, I think, a University of Utah nursing student.
Yep.
With a Brazilian visa that had a student visa or something. It may have expired. It may not have.
She was a dreamer. She came here as a child.
Right. She gets stopped for. Oh, that's right. She gets stopped for following a semi-truck too close. The officer gives her a citation, a warning ticket, effectively, but holds her for an extraordinarily long time because he's contacting the immigration people saying, hey, you should check this person out. There's something that's not
chat.
Right about this. Yeah, on a chat. So she's held longer than is allowed for, if you think we colloquially call a traffic stop hook and release, because we don't detain people for very long for speeding or following too close. So we usually make that a fairly quick. And so if the detention lasts longer than what's normally required to write a ticket, it's an inappropriate stop.
Well, and I remember that it was 20 minutes, and he had her sent in the front seat of his patrol car.
Yeah, so she wasn't going anywhere.
She wasn't going anywhere, and then as soon as he said, "Okay, you can go now," she literally, like 1 minute later, was pulled over by ICE.
Yeah, he waited until they were within earshot and then said, "Oh, you can leave now." So the ACLU of Colorado has filed a lawsuit against the authorities there, and it's a lawsuit more for what we call injunctive relief, basically saying knock it off, you can't do this anymore, and maybe to have a judge give immigration authorities a roadmap of when they can and cannot detain individuals rather than just based on their skin color.
So I remember Colorado law is a little bit different, and that was one of the things that came into play, right, is that this officer did not have the authority really to share that information.
Right. Colorado law at the time precluded local law enforcement from working with immigration authorities. It said we're not immigration agents here. They do their work, we do ours, and we don't share. Utah has more of a sharing arrangement, at least with some of our jurisdictions.
So what can the judge order in this case?
Well, the judge can order them to stop and order them that. And so if a judge orders that these stops were illegal, then if they continue, there could be some consequences. So what they want is a finding for the judge to say, look, and I think that immigration authorities need to have better understanding, just for the benefit of the doubt, of when a person can be detained. Because we think in America about the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure. A seizure is a seizure of the person. It's not necessarily a search warrant. So when you seize a person, we call that, arrest or detention, whatever you want to call it. You have to have probable cause to do that as well. And probable cause historically has not been brown skin. I mean, that's not probable cause of anything. You know what I mean? And immigration authorities are more and more using brown skin, Spanish accent, as probable cause that you're here illegally.
It seems that way. And look, I do have to say that in the KSL article about this, DHS responded and said allegations that DHS law enforcement officers engage in racial profiling are disgusting, reckless, and categorically false. What makes someone a target for immigration enforcement is if they are illegally in the U.S., not their skin color, race, or ethnicity. But back to the question, well, how are you then deciding?
Know that? Right.
And it seems to me like when he pulled her over, one of the questions the officer asked her was, oh, where are you from? And she said, Utah. And he goes, but were you born there? Do you have an accent? Right. And then she said, oh, I was born in Brazil.
Right. So then he's immediately thinking there's something more going on. So we have different levels of detention that we allow law officers to do, like I talked about, a speeding ticket or something isn't a full-on arrest.
Right.
But it's a short detention, and you can stop somebody for that. If you find something else is going on at the time, like odor of alcohol on their breath,
right,
an open container in their car, then you can prolong the detention and maybe even make it into a full-on arrest. In this case, they didn't have anything other than her ethnicity, and that was an inappropriate, according to this lawsuit, reason to continue that detention of her.
Yeah. It's interesting that the DHS spokesperson says the ACLU is engaged in hostility towards immigration agents. So,
we're going to learn a lot more over the next couple of years about immigration and policy and search and seizure and the Constitution and what it all means, because our courts are more and more giving a little bit more deference, sadly, or maybe, I don't know, but we need to do something about the immigration problem, and maybe we're opening the gates for continued detention or continued profiling because of our desire right now in this country to get illegal immigrants out of here. But it's not been the way we've done things in America historically.
Well, it has been. It seems to be. It has been pretty indiscriminate. So what are next steps with this? So they filed a lawsuit. I'm assuming it hasn't even had a day in court because they just barely filed this.
Right. So the federal agencies will take a look at it. The immigration agencies, they'll look at it. They've already said we're going to ask that it be dismissed. The judge may have a hearing. He may even call Gonsalves and others. She's one of four named plaintiffs in that who are claiming they were illegally detained based on inappropriate and discriminating factors. They'll have a hearing on that, and then the judge may decide, look, you guys are crossing the line. You're doing things inappropriately. You need to dial it back. Or the judge might say, based on what I'm hearing, you guys had probable cause and what you did was right. So it's more of a lesson. It's more of a message lawsuit. Let's give immigration authorities some rules and not let this happen again, or maybe they're doing things correctly.
I only have a few seconds left, but I know that like California tried to say ICE agents can't mask their faces, and I think that if I remember correctly, a court said, oh well, actually they can. Do you know?
Yeah, I don't see that would seem to be a silly. I mean, you could mask anything you want. I mean, unless you're going into a bank to cash a check. You know what I mean? But I don't see a problem with that. With I mean, certainly undercover officers cover their faces when, you know what I mean, when they're doing search warrants, so they don't get recognized. But I don't think that's going to go very far, in all seriousness.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, thanks for your education on that. So we've talked a fair amount of time about Utah's redistricting battle. It's getting national attention and support on one side from the Trump family. That's coming up next. We're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. The other night, I had the chance to see a brand new play at Hale Center Theater, and it's the musical comedy Murders of 1940. And I'm just going to read what I wrote to Sally Dietlein right after I got out to my truck. I just had to let her know how much I enjoyed it, and I said, a black and white screwball film noir comedy complete with Nazis. You have outdone yourself. This is so unique. The entire play, save only one character, is in black and white. Sally wrote back and said, yeah, I think it's the first time we've ever done, and she used this term, grayscape. It is so unique. You are going to love it. And then just down the hall, Sister Act is showing, and all kinds of wonderful performances still to come, like Frozen. We've already got our tickets for our grandkids. Go to hct.org or get your tickets at the box office. And don't forget, get your 2026 season tickets.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-275-1728. That's 800-275-1728.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. There were two similar manufacturing plants, two plant managers. To increase quality, one set out to enforce the rules so there would be no more mistakes. The other set out to create processes where everyone could learn from their mistakes. The first manager stood above, the second stood within. Over time, the second manager had much better results. Collaborative, continuous improvement that leverages learning is why cars and planes are safer, electronics are more reliable, surgeries are more successful. Learning how to improve is what makes USU's Huntsman School world-class. The internationally known Shingo Institute and the MBA program, both at Utah State University, have teamed up with a powerful degree that teaches MBA skills, continuous improvement, and organizational excellence. Consider a Shingo MBA. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
There's no place like home, but home ownership is slipping away in Utah, and young Utahns are being priced out of their own communities. The U.S. economy is built on the idea that 30% of your income should go towards housing. But in Utah, families are spending nearly 66% just to keep a roof overhead. On top of that, the average homeowner in Utah has nearly $400,000 in net worth. For renters, it's barely $10,000. And with Utah already on track to be short more than 153,000 homes by 2030, that gap is only growing. Every community in Utah plays a part in finding solutions. More homes mean more opportunity for teachers, nurses, police officers, and every family that makes Utah what it is. Learn more about Utah's housing shortage and what we can do to begin to fix it at demandmoresupply.com. That's demandmoresupply.com. And when you sign up, you'll be entered to win tickets to a special pre-screening of Wicked. Visit demandmoresupply.com. Together, we can keep Utah families close.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form, cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General, at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
And expanded inside sources.
It appears that the fight over Utah's new congressional maps and redistricting law is getting some attention from President Trump's family, Holly.
Yeah, they weighed in. And by they, I mean Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah, Jared Kushner is weighing in on the war in Gaza, and Donald Trump Jr. is weighing in on Utah's redistricting maps and trying to get Utah's legislature on board with trying to get these maps drawn up. Go ahead.
Yeah, remember, so they're trying to get these efforts overturned, and so they need to get a certain number of signatures. And so what he did was share a link to the Utah Republican Party's effort to hire paid volunteers. So we have on the line with us again Cami Mondo, Deseret News congressional correspondent, to talk to us about DJT Jr. weighing in on this. Hi, Cami.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Tell us a little bit about Donald Trump Jr. weighing in on Utah's redistricting.
Yeah, absolutely. So it kind of came as a surprise to me yesterday, at least, kind of scrolling through Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and kind of saying that he actually did post a form to this effort to gather volunteers, even paid volunteers, to help gather these signatures. They're really looking to recruit not only from within the state, but they even said they would like out-of-state patriots, is what they call them, to come to Utah and help gather all of these signatures that they need in the next few weeks so that they can undo these congressional maps.
Yeah, and so this signature gathering is something that we don't typically think about in terms of what the legislature is doing, because ballot initiatives and certain things require signature gathering. But what they're doing here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Cami, is a referendum and a initiative that would allow the legislature to set aside the citizen ballot initiative, I think.
Absolutely, yes. So this referendum, would need these signatures to put first, there are kind of two different initiatives going on at the moment. One of them would put the map that was just approved by the legislature on the ballot for next year, so it would not put those districts in play the way that Democrats want them to be. And then, yes, that second part would undo the Proposition 4 anti-gerrymandering bill that led to this new map in the first place. So, yeah, it's kind of a two-part referendum, but absolutely there's kind of trying to overturn those two things that have to do with the new district lines that we're seeing.
So one of the things that I am seeing on his tweet or his post, he calls them rhino judges and liberal groups are trying to steal 2 GOP House seats in Utah, which, former Governor Gary Herbert said he found it laughable that this judge was considered liberal. So what, look, I'm seeing even on news monitors today that there's another state, I think it's South Carolina, saying we're going to redraw a district that was a swing district and make it a safe Republican seat. Can you speak to the broader overview of these redistricting battles?
Absolutely. It is kind of funny because, we have seen a similar argument from even Utah Senator Mike Lee that he believes that this Utah decision was done by radical judge, as they like to call them. But what's interesting is that absolutely in different states, we're seeing a lot of either governors or state legislatures moving forward with wanting to redraw maps. What makes Utah really unique is that this is actually a lawsuit. This is actually a legal battle that's been going on for several years, and it just so happens to be coinciding with these other states that are choosing just to do it because it is a midterm battle. And so Utah actually is going through a whole legal process. It's been dragged out for years, as we know. But yeah, these other states like Texas, California, I think, the North Carolina, South Carolina, they're also kind of considering, but those are all really just, whether it's a Republican-led state or a Democratic-led state, deciding whether they just want to rehaul their map just for political purposes.
And speaking, Cammie, of things that are dragging on a bit, you're in Washington. Can you tell our listeners if there's anything going on with the shutdown? I think we had our vote number 11 yesterday with the Senate.
And today's 21. Day
and
21.
Today is day 21. Any movement that we're hearing at all?
It actually seems like we're kind of hitting a wall at this point. This will be one of the first days of the shutdown that we do not have any shutdown-related votes. They just voted about an hour ago on some unrelated nominations. They'll vote 2 more times today, but again, just on nominations. So there's no CR vote today. There's no shutdown-related vote. But Senate Republicans are at the White House right now having lunch, talking about strategies moving forward. So maybe we'll see some movement, but in terms of, voting progress, it seems that we've kind of hit a wall there.
So today's day 21. That makes us tied for the second longest shutdown, which happened, I think, during the Clinton years. Can you speak at all to House Speaker Mike Johnson telling his members to stay in their districts for the rest of this week as well? Has he hinted at all when he might call House members back to D.C.?
He's been pretty adamant that he doesn't want to bring them back while we are still in a shutdown. However, the Senate is voting on a different bill this week to pay certain federal workers during the shutdown. If that passes, Mike Johnson has indicated that he would bring the House back for that standalone bill itself. But, it's still not clear if that bill will pass the Senate. It will require at least 7 Democrats to sign on, but some Democrats are a little bit hesitant to want to sign on because they say they don't trust the Trump administration to choose which federal workers they're going to pay. But that would be the first thing that we would see the House come back. Otherwise, Johnson has been pretty adamant that if it remains shut down, lawmakers should stay home at their own districts.
Let me ask you just a quick follow-up question. So if they're going to pay some federal workers, where is that money coming from?
So that money would come from, I think, just from appropriations that have not been spent yet. There's been a lot of maneuvering of money in the federal government. We've seen the military getting paid. It's kind of just taking it from accounts that they did not spend all of their money in the last fiscal year, moving it around to then unfreeze those funds that are now frozen in the shutdown to pay those workers. It's money that would have to be backfilled later. That would have to be figured out in the appropriations process, but that's kind of the thinking for right now.
Yeah, when you hear, Cammie, that the House members are told to go home, they're not doing anything, you think, well, maybe both houses are not doing anything right now. But you say the Senate is voting on some nominations, or maybe I don't need to know exactly, but are these like judicial type nominations, those type of things that the Senate's voting on?
Yeah, it's just some more lower-level Trump administration nominations. I think it is kind of like when people are in a shutdown, you think that lawmakers can't do anything but get out of a shutdown, but they can vote on other things. They can still hold hearings. It's just that the House is choosing not to. But yes, they are just voting on unrelated legislation while they're up here and talks continue.
Thank you so much for joining us, Cammie. That was Cammie Mondo, Deseret News congressional correspondent. So just 2 things, right? We've got these congressional maps. We've got a legal battle in Utah. We have, looking at the 2026 midterms, you have a variety of states trying to redraw maps, which is unprecedented, just has not happened mid-census cycle, to try and shore up Republican chances to win during the midterms. Because typically what happens, and it happened in Trump's first term as well, is by the time you hit the midterms, then the minority party often takes back at least control of one house because people are like, okay, well, now I'm seeing policies I don't agree with them, and so I'm going to give the other side a chance.
Right. And speaking of courts, just briefly, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the West Coast basically, has indicated that the judge who told the administration they couldn't deploy troops to Portland was wrong, and they have said that was a wrongful decision to stop that. So that was
is that a temporary thing? This appeals court?
Yeah, they're allowing troops into Portland right now. The appeals court is doing that. So I was surprised at that. I think the lower court indicated that the Trump administration had exceeded their authority, but the Ninth Circuit, which is not by any means a conservative circuit, is sided with the administration. So that could make some difference in other states that are like Illinois. Texas and other states that are considering those deployments.
That's really interesting to me. I'm not an attorney, but I thought that states had rights.
Yeah. Well, I guess the federal government does too when it comes to violence and corruption and things that are going on within some of those states and cities where gang violence and other things have gotten out of hand allegedly. I've never heard of the game Roblox, but the game Roblox. Okay, of course you have. It's under fire again, and one state has issued criminal subpoenas against the platform, citing alleged abuse of children by online predators. We'll break down the latest on that after the break.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top local story this hour. The American Civil Liberties Union has filed a lawsuit against the federal government on behalf of a University of Utah student who was arrested by ICE earlier this year. The lawsuit claims ICE isn't arresting people based on their immigration status and flight risk, but rather because of their skin color and to, quote, fulfill arbitrary arrest quotas. A spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security vehemently denied those claims. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Gas prices could soon remain below the $3 mark for an extended period of time, according to Gas Buddy. But Clint Henderson with the Points Guy website says it'll still take a while before those lower oil prices impact the price of airline tickets. So you'll still need to do your homework to find a good airline deal.
If you fly on the holiday, if you fly on a Tuesday or Wednesday, sometimes you'll see cheaper prices. Also check those early morning flights. But when you book, what time of day, if you wait till midnight on Tuesday, that's total trash. Not true. Don't worry about it. Just monitor prices with something like Google Flights Tracker.
Crude oil prices have been going down because of a quiet hurricane season, lower demand, and an increase in domestic oil production. The Utah Jazz announced this morning they plan to move the team's practice facility to the Shops at Southtown, where they just built a practice facility for the Utah Mammoth. The new basketball training center will start construction this fall. Your money at this moment, the Dow up 335 points to 47,042. Coming up, plenty of sunshine today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hey, Utah, it's the Waterboy, Colson Firmage, a third-generation Culligan man. Kent, did you hear that? That's the sound of clean, pure Culligan water.
I did, Colson, but that's not what's going to make a splash today. Today only, October 21st, Culligan Water has an exclusive deal for KSL listeners.
You mean that hard, funky-tasting water that's about to become a thing of the past?
Exactly. Today only, you can get a Culligan whole home system and save an incredible $1,500. A huge discount that gives you whole home filtration, water softener, and reverse osmosis.
$1,500? That means no more crusty faucets, no more spotty dishes, and no more worrying about what's in my drinking water?
Think of it. Healthy, pure, clean drinking water, cleaner laundry, and even softer skin and hair. This is the biggest deal we've ever offered, and it's only available today.
So if you're sick and tired of hard water and want to save some serious cash, what's the play, Kent?
You have to act fast. Call us at Culligan Water right now. 801-509-9602.
That's right. 801-509-9602. Or check us out at CulliganSLC.com. This one-day deal ends tonight.
Okay, I have to tell you. I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She could get a deal. Book telehealth if she feels.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
If you are facing divorce, call Cordell and Cordell today.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. Divorce touches all areas of your life: your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
If you are facing divorce, contact Cordell and Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL. That's 1-855-GET-LEGAL. CordellCordell.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. And Heather, what are you looking at?
We are looking at a crash northbound I-15 just before you get to University Parkway in Orem. Now, the first crash was blocking the right lane and shoulder, and it's been there for just over an hour. But about 15, 20 minutes ago, we had a secondary crash behind it, about 75, maybe 100 yards behind it. That's over on the left shoulder. So you've got quite a bit of slowing. It's backed up through the S-curves into the Provo area. But that's really the only delay we have on a major freeway right now throughout Utah, Salt Lake, and Davis counties. And no problems now getting out of Parley's Canyon I-80 now that that disabled semi has moved out of the way. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, high today near 61. Plenty of sunshine, but then the clouds move in tomorrow with a slight chance for rain Wednesday night. Right now it's sunny and 48 degrees. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So if your child plays Roblox, you'll want to hear this, but Florida's Attorney General James Utmeyer is accusing the popular online gaming platform Roblox of becoming a, quote, breeding grounds for predators, and is now issuing criminal subpoenas against the company. I issued those on Monday. I have never heard of Roblox.
I know, but
but millions of teens
but
have.
your grandkids may have, right? So yeah, millions of teens and kids use this, including many under age 13, which of course raises questions about kids and online safety. Here's ABC's Jim Ryan on the criminal subpoenas that have been sent to the legal department at Roblox.
Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer says his office has arrested more than 1,000 child predators this year, with many using Roblox to find victims.
Companies like Roblox have become breeding grounds for predators to get to and have access to our kids.
Uthmeyer is demanding that Roblox turn over records related to its age verification and data collection process for its youngest users. Roblox insists that it has stepped up protections for children who play on the platform. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
So what do you know about it?
I just
Roblox
know
itself.
It's a popular game, right? And I know that kids can get on it and they can make purchases. They can make purchases with real money. They can play with other players. And I think the concern right here is that you may think the other player is a kid like yourself. But, of course, we're seeing that Florida, at least, is saying, look, they're using this as a way to get to kids, to groom them and then prey on them.
So apparently there's a hook to the game. That is, you can get some currency. You can get some Roblox dollars or something like that.
Robux. It's Robux.
Robux. Oh, of course. Yeah, there you go. And so predators can use bribes and say, look, if you'll send me explicit content, I'll give you some Robux.
Right.
So that would be something that, yeah, people should be able to figure that out fairly quickly. But that would be I was trying to think how predators could get to kids on that, but that makes perfect
easy,
sense.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And of course you can pretend to have a persona where you're just a kid. And so you start this interaction and you create a trusting relationship. So I'll admit a bad parent moment. Our youngest was playing on Roblox, and this is before, we had a detailed conversation about internet safety, actually, and I had given her some real dollars that she could use to buy hats and stuff with her little characters. Well, somebody befriended her on the game and asked her to send them her password, and she did.
Ouch.
Right? And then cleaned out her account. It was like $20. But still, it's like, oh my gosh, that was a lesson for me for sure, and a lesson for her for sure. She does not share her password with anyone at any time. But we now have ongoing conversations about staying safe online. And that was just an easy, like, not child predator. They just wanted $20, but still.
And you could see a young person thinking that they're engaging with another young person to say,
Right.
hey, send me a picture.
Well,
send,
and it
send me a
doesn't
naughty
start with
picture,
that, right?
and I'll
It
get
doesn't
you
start
some-
with that. Yeah.
And it can get worse
Yep.
and worse, or let's
Yeah,
meet
that's
up, or
right.
let's hook up, or let's
Yeah.
do, I mean, to get points and to get
Yeah.
money, currency, and to make you more popular in the game.
Of course, Roblox is going to deny that they have a strong issue. So this is more on Roblox response from ABC.
Roblox says it's added extra protections for young users with more rules around messaging, saying it prohibits sharing images and videos in chat, uses filters to block the exchange of personal information, and is implementing age estimation for users.
That's one of the problems, right, is that you can get around these things.
Right. And it seems like, I mean, Roblox, I've never heard of it, but it seems like every one of these, who it was, we had Gephardt in here the other day, just talking about how online predators are out there for everything. I mean, if you're a parent right now and your kid's on the internet, I mean, there's so many things you need to be thinking about, and you can get filters, you can do this, you can do that, but these online predators are so aggressive, and all they need is for a kid to hit accept or to you know, I want to chat with you, and they think they're just chatting with another 15-year-old in another city who might be just teasing and having fun, but it's serious when you start getting involved with predators.
We've also had Utah's Attorney General come on. We've
Right.
also had Margaret Bussey, the head of Utah's Department of Commerce, come on to talk about this Utah's lawsuits against social media companies. Look, I'm looking at a CBS News article that talks about Roblox and Discord, which is another online platform. And there's a father that is part of lawsuits against these two platforms, saying that he allowed his son to play on Roblox. It seemed safe. He said he set up all the parental controls, but an alleged sex offender who was posing as a 16-year-old befriended his 13-year-old son and then offered gift cards, like you just said, for sexually explicit photos. And then he wanted to know what this boy's address was. And he said, no, I'm not going to tell you that. And this predator said, well, I have all these photos and I'm going to tell your parents. Which you get into the sextortion, which we've talked about before, which has led to teens committing suicide, even in Utah.
And, of course, the social media platforms say one of two things. A, we don't monitor content. I mean, we tell people, be careful, use filters, make sure you have, age verification, anything like that. We can't control that. And they also say we have some rights under the First Amendment to allow people to publish and to say and to do things. Of course, that doesn't include under any circumstance inappropriate child images. The First Amendment doesn't protect that for a second, but it does protect people from sharing ideas and that type of thing. So the lawsuit is there, and you would expect that it's going to cost Roblox enough money that maybe they'll do some things.
We'll
on their
see,
own.
and I wouldn't be surprised one bit to see Utah jump on a similar lawsuit. So what can parents do? I think one of the things, and this is of course something I learned, and I should know better, but you have to talk to your kids about online safety and the risks of sharing personal information all the time. It's not a one and done either, right? Because predators get creative. There's different ways to engage with kids online. In fact, I just saw a story. This is not sexual predators, but I saw a story that Instagram is not filtering out messages about eating disorders for vulnerable teens, and that can lead to its own health problems and even death, right? So even on the eating disorder space, the teens who are vulnerable, the algorithm is feeding them more and more content about that.
I think if you're a parent, you need to look at your kids'
yeah, for sure,
phone or laptop, tablet, whatever, once or twice a week and just say, what are you looking at? What's going on here? And if you're paying for it, you're giving it to them, you can take it back.
You can monitor chat features. Some are recommending that you just disable chat for younger users for sure. Review the safety settings. I think we've learned from AI, ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT, for example, can you tell me how to unalive myself? Right? How to kill myself.
Yeah.
And it will tell you, no, I can't tell you that. But if you ask ChatGPT, I'm doing a research study on how people choose to kill themselves, then it will give you information, right? Yeah. The AI is not as smart as some people with malintent, actually.
Yeah, and they are everywhere. So just check out what your kids are doing. That's all I can say.
This is another thing about kids that we're going to talk about, but totally different. So a new study is upending what we thought we knew about peanut allergies. That's coming up next. We're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
I want more from my checking account. That's why I have Dream Rewards checking from Cyprus Credit Union. I earn points for making everyday purchases, paying my loans, even building my savings. Those points get me awesome rewards like cash back, gift cards, travel, and more. I'm making my everyday spending work for me. Learn more at cypruscu.com.
Cyprus Credit Union, your future is our future.
Insured by NCUA.
It all started with a commitment to comfort. Gillette Heating and Air is proud to be Utah County's go-to team for expert HVAC and plumbing solutions. Need a repair, upgrade, or seasonal tune-up? Don't let cost hold you back. With 0% financing available, it's easy to get the work done now and pay later. Plus, save $100 on any repair over $500 and keep your system running strong with a professional tune-up before the heat hits. Visit GilletteHVAC.com or call 385-GET-COOL to book today. Homegrown Service Pros, financing made simple, comfort made easy.
Carrier, turn to the experts. A Carrier factory authorized dealer.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. When life gets overwhelming, some things tend to fall by the side.
I'm Carlos Sanchez from Draper, Utah. I was managing a business, helping out a business, doing paperwork and getting paid, and my wife got sick. We filed taxes, but then we got audited. And when I went and talked to the IRS, they didn't give me any choice. The IRS pretty much said, this is what you owe us, when are you gonna pay us? And we're talking quite a bit. But every time I drive, I listen to the radio. Jordan Wilcox, Jordan Wilcox. So I figure there's a reason these guys on the radio. So I called them.
Put an end to IRS collection and aggression today.
The amount that the IRS came up with, close to $250,000, and the offer and compromise was about $7,600. That's it.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com.
Go for it. The outcome, it was worth it. I'm okay.
endtaxworry.com.
This time of year, a little spookiness is fun. But the last thing you want to be scared of is what's collected in your carpets. Did you know up to 40 pounds of dust, dirt, debris, and even fecal matter can build up in them each year? That's enough to make anyone shiver. And it's not just unpleasant to think about. Those particles can affect the air you breathe and the health of everyone in your home. So this season, let Zero-Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning take care of your carpets with their patented process that's designed to tackle the buildup you can't see. Zero-Res cleans without harsh chemicals or soapy residue, leaving your carpets safe for kids and pets and helping them stay cleaner longer. Don't be scared of what's hiding underfoot. Schedule your cleaning today at Zerorez.com and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $129 and 15% off air duct cleanings. Spelled the same forward or backward, Zero-Res is the right way to clean.
Are you thinking about buying medicine online? A search for online pharmacies yields more than 20 million results. But which ones can you trust? Medicines bought from unlicensed online pharmacies can be dangerous. You may get a fake drug, your condition may get worse, or you may experience a bad reaction. Don't put your health at risk. To learn how to find an online pharmacy that's safe and legal, visit fda.gov/BeSafeRx. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
I want to talk about peanut allergies and more broadly food allergies. So I'm interested in hearing from our listeners. If you have opinions on food allergies or experience with food allergies, just text us briefly your experience, 57500. But one of the things that has been, I think, in just our common understanding about food allergies is don't introduce peanuts to kids early. They're really an allergen, and it could set something off. And what happened a decade ago is that the medical advice changed, and now they have 60,000 kids who have not followed the advice to delay adding peanuts, and there's fewer allergies.
Yeah, because introducing it to young people at a younger
Earlier.
age, it starts building up their immunity. And that makes a lot of sense to me, that you get kids exposed to things like the kids that go to daycare at a young age and get everybody's cold.
Those are germs,
and
but
pretty
yeah.
soon, pretty soon you start building up some immunity to some of that.
Yeah, so ABC's Morgan Norwood has information on this study giving parents new tools to help prevent peanut allergies.
A new study is offering hope for families concerned about peanut allergies. Research finding a few simple but powerful tools, such as short training videos, electronic reminders, and parent handouts, helped pediatricians give clearer advice on when to safely introduce peanuts to babies.
Millions of people are living today with food allergies, which is very limiting and in some situations dangerous.
Since 2017, national guidelines have urged early peanut introduction to prevent allergies, but surveys find few pediatricians consistently follow these guidelines. The study's authors say this simple approach could prevent thousands of peanut allergies each year.
Now we have an opportunity to prevent peanut allergy, an often lifelong and severe food allergy. And pediatric clinicians are essential to making this happen.
The training videos are meant to educate doctors on how to best navigate peanut allergies with their patients. These handouts for parents include recipes for how to introduce peanut protein to a baby's diet. And electronic prompts like this remind clinicians to evaluate their patient for peanut product information during their 4 or 6 month checkups so they can talk to families about it early. Researchers say starting peanut-containing foods between 4 and 6 months can lower a baby's risk of developing a peanut allergy by more than 80%. With the use of these new tools, the data shows doctors were nearly 15 times more likely to follow allergy prevention guidelines.
And outcomes in the trial will be tracked until children are about 2.5 years old to see if the intervention reduces actual peanut allergy prevalence.
That's really significant. 80% reduction in the rate of kids that suffer from peanut allergies if they're introduced to
early.
4 to 6
months. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it was, it's interesting because it's hard to shift a narrative. So we think we know something like peanuts are allergenic, and so delay in introducing. And then when they find a study, and now they have the 60,000 kids, it's really hard to shift the culture away from that.
Right.
I actually have a granddaughter with tree allergies, or tree nut allergies, I should say. I have tree allergies. Hay fever, it's called. But it's interesting. I was telling you during the break, I have a brother who developed a shellfish allergy as an adult, and it was so severe that he had to carry an EpiPen with him. When he ate at restaurants, if they served shellfish, he had to say, I cannot have any food cooked in a pan that has touched shellfish. It was that bad. It developed suddenly, and then it went away.
That's really weird, but it's interesting for me personally because at various times I've had allergies to both peanuts and shellfish to the point where I had a really bad reaction to shellfish once, and I've had moderately bad. I always get sores in my mouth every time I eat peanut butter, but I love it, so I eat it anyway. And then
that's not good.
Yeah, then I get messed up. I was on a bike race once, and the guy gave me a candy bar that had peanuts in it.
Oh yeah,
and I had to stop because I couldn't for a while. I was in a race and hey, wait a minute, I had a reaction. I had to stop and drink a bunch of water so I could breathe.
You told me that you did a bike race on Uncrustables, which have peanut butter in them.
Yes, I know.
So maybe that was not the smartest.
That was not the smartest thing either for a lot of reasons.
We do have one texter who said they have a severe, she had a severe mushroom allergy since she was about 10. And sometimes, like I mentioned with my brother, some allergies go away as you get older. They may get worse. I'm 63 now, she says, and my allergy was so bad I don't dare see if it went away. That's wise.
Yeah.
Right? That's wise. It's interesting. I think, again, it's really interesting. And you mentioned kids in daycare and having the bacteria, right? Actually, you can strengthen your immunity. It's one of the things that people talk about sometimes about free-range parenting, like letting kids play in the dirt. Anybody who has ever had kids or seen kids, you know that they put stuff in their mouth that you'd be like, don't do that.
Right. But then
one of my grandkids it's so funny, right? So you have your first child, you sanitize everything, you sanitize, the baby binkies that fall on the floor, all of that. And she was trying to do all that. Her second child comes along. She's still trying to maintain that. And then she looked over one day, and there were little legs sticking out of my granddaughter's mouth, and she had popped a bug right into her mouth.
There you go.
Crunchy. So
my wife's family has a history of celiac, and it's different than an allergy, but it's an autoimmune disorder. And when she eats bread, even if it's accidentally, her reaction is very much like it's like she almost gets flu. Yeah, it's pretty frightening.
Yeah. Well, we have another texter who said that they're 50 years old and have allergies to fresh oranges, grapes, watermelon, walnuts, but all other nuts are fine. And then in the last 7 years or so have developed an allergy to bananas as well as guacamole. And also they have celiac.
I've never heard of fruit allergies.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can have an allergy to anything.
Right. Another one says, my daughter's allergic to about 84 foods at this point. It's awful. I can't even imagine. That is awful. Another one's, this is the one that also has the celiac, but haven't had a grape in 40 years because the reaction as a child was so bad, life-threatening. Didn't know I needed an EpiPen at the time, but I have them now. So those are all really serious. And for people, it's interesting, right? You have this guideline that you can decrease the allergies. But for people who do have these allergies, I know it's a huge issue. Sometimes in my children's school, if they have a person with a peanut allergy in the class, they'll even put a sign on the door that says this is a peanut-free zone. Right? Because sometimes they can literally be life-threatening. I remember reading a story. It was so heartbreaking. One young teenager was at a friend's house and popped a pretzel in their mouth, not realizing that the pretzel was filled with peanut butter, and they died. It was so immediate that even with an EpiPen and calling the parents right away, they just, it can kill you.
I hadn't appreciated until you mentioned a minute ago, but it has applied to me too, that your allergy or your reaction to certain foods that you have an allergic reaction to can change over time because my peanut and shellfish allergy has waned recently to where I can have those, but then every once in a while it'll go bad. Something really bad will happen, and you can't plan on it. But I go ahead and eat them both anyway and take my chance.
There's a couple of other texters. The one who said their daughter's allergic to 84 foods, allergic to almost all fruits and vegetables. Another one said her son ate peanut butter at 18 months and had a severe allergic reaction and scary. He still has a fear of it. And then one texter says, I feel bad. I'm allergic to nothing. Right? That's really great.
You can eat anything.
Yeah, it's just interesting. So the study authors, like, you don't have to feed your little babies large amounts of these, and you're not going to give them an actual peanut, right? But like a peanut butter mix, not just the straight peanut butter either, but you can put a little bit on something. But milk-based yogurt, soy-based yogurt, tree butters, you can even get almond butter, etc. It lets those babies start to have their body respond to those, right? And it can be eggs also, right? Same kind of things. Introduce them in small amounts.
And when you live with somebody who has those allergies, of course, you end up having the same food restrictions.
That's right.
You
don't eat gluten at your house.
We don't eat flour at our house.
Yep.
We don't have any breads or anything that has that in it because it's just not worth it. And even getting exposed to some of that could cause a problem. So, yeah, I've become gluten-free in my old age.
But interesting study, right? Interesting study.
Well, we are watching the government shutdown is now in day 21 at 20 days, 12 hours, 58 minutes to be exact.
But who's counting?
But who's counting? When we come back, Congresswoman Celeste Malloy will join us to give us the latest from the halls of Congress. Stay with us on KSL News Radio. And remember, you can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. We'll be back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Becky Bruce. KSL's top story this hour, the Utah Jazz are getting a new practice facility. Smith Entertainment Group announced today they're going to build a new facility for the Jazz right next to the Utah Mammoths practice facility in Sandy at the Shops at Southtown.
Why don't we, show our fans and our players and free agents and everything what world-class can look like in Utah?
Team owner Ryan Smith says they expect to have the new facility and connected campus for both teams done within the next 2 years. He says they have not made plans for what will happen to the Jazz's current practice facility in Salt Lake City. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Vice President Vance, White House envoy Steve Witkoff, and negotiator Jared Kushner are in southern Israel today trying to hold up the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. U.S. officials insist the process to achieve a longer-term peace is still in place and are cautiously optimistic the ceasefire will hold.
What we heard from the Vice President is this kind of ultimatum to Hamas, disarm. What we didn't hear is much of what the incentive is for Hamas. Why would Hamas actually disarm? He was asked about that later on in that sort of question and answer with reporters. And again, he just put the warning out there. Look, unless Hamas disarms, very bad things are going to happen, he said.
That's ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge in Tel Aviv. Your money at this moment, a mixed bag on Wall Street. Dow and S&P 500 up just slightly. NASDAQ down just slightly. Coming up, clouds move back in tomorrow. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Hey, Utah, it's the Waterboy, Colson Firmage, a third-generation Culligan man. Kent, did you hear that? That's the sound of clean, pure Culligan water.
I did, Colson, but that's not what's going to make a splash today. Today only, October 21st, Culligan Water has an exclusive deal for KSL listeners.
You mean that hard, funky-tasting water that's about to become a thing of the past?
Exactly. Today only, you can get a Culligan whole home system and save an incredible $1,500. A huge discount that gives you whole home filtration, water softener, and reverse osmosis.
$1,500? That means no more crusty faucets, no more spotty dishes, and no more worrying about what's in my drinking water?
Think of it. Healthy, pure, clean drinking water, cleaner laundry, and even softer skin and hair. This is the biggest deal we've ever offered, and it's only available today.
So if you're sick and tired of hard water and want to save some serious cash, what's the play, Kent?
You have to act fast. Call us at Culligan Water right now, 801-509-9602.
That's right, 801-509-9602. Or check us out at CulliganSLC.com. This one-day deal ends tonight.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond.
There were two similar manufacturing plants, two plant managers. To increase quality, one set out to enforce the rules so there would be no more mistakes. The other set out to create processes where everyone could learn from their mistakes. The first manager stood above, the second stood within. Over time, the second manager had much better results. Collaborative, continuous improvement that leverages learning is why cars and planes are safer, electronics are more reliable, surgeries are more successful. Learning how to improve is what makes USU's Huntsman School world-class. The internationally known Shingo Institute and the MBA program, both at Utah State University, have teamed up with a powerful degree that teaches MBA skills, continuous improvement, and organizational excellence. Consider a Shingo MBA. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind, to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-549-8866. 800-549-8866. 800-549-8866.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Let's check in with Heather Kelly.
We've got delays eastbound I-80 between Redwood Road and the turnoff to I-15 or 600 South into downtown Salt Lake City. It's due to a vehicle fire that is still smoking and flames are coming out, blocking the left lane and shoulder again just before you get to I-15 or 6 South exit. So it looks like they're actually also blocking a center lane, so only one right lane is getting past this vehicle fire, and that has brought traffic nearly to a halt again, backed up to Redwood Road. So if you're coming over from the airport, expect delays. It should take you an extra 10 minutes to get through that mile. Otherwise, you've got a good drive on I-15, the East Side Belt Route, and I-80 through Parley's Canyon. It's time to try UTA. Less stress, no traffic, and more U-Time. Plan your trip at rideuta.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny today with a high of 61. We get more clouds tomorrow as we head into the mid-60s, and we'll stay in the mid-60s Thursday and Friday. Right now, you've got sunny skies out there. It's about 48 degrees, so pretty cool still. I'm Becky Bruce from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We're 21 days into the government shutdown, which is now tied for second place. The longest shutdown was 35 days, and that was in President Trump's first administration. And there doesn't seem to be any movement. We have with us on the line Representative Celeste Malloy, who I want to ask, what can you tell us about this shutdown?
I don't see it ending in the next couple of days either. It's kind of a funny creature for a shutdown. You know, you just said that it's tied for the second longest right now, but that one was a partial shutdown. This is the longest total shutdown we've had, in that we haven't funded part of the government. You know, before, some of the appropriations bills got passed in both chambers and others didn't, so some things were funded. This time, none of the appropriations bills passed. That's what it all comes down to. We passed a 7-week CR, a continuing resolution in the House, to try to give us time to get our appropriations bills across the floor. We have all 12 of them marked up in the House. I'm on the Appropriations Committee. We have our work ready to go. 3 of them passed on the House floor, but they haven't passed on the Senate floor. The Senate was a little behind us. That's why we need more time. It's also the first shutdown we've ever had over a clean CR. So the term unprecedented gets thrown around a lot, in cases where things probably are precedented, but this is unprecedented as far as shutdowns go, in that we've never had a shutdown over a clean CR, and this is our longest total shutdown we've ever had.
Yeah, let me ask you just one follow-up question on what you just said. You said you passed a 7-week continuing resolution, and we're now 3 weeks into a shutdown. Is that now basically off the table?
No, that's what the Senate is voting on. They voted on it again last night. They voted for the 11th time not to pass it. It's not off the table, but they are running out the clock. And it's important to look at this shutdown in some context. So the government's been shut down for 3 weeks now, and that stopped the momentum we've had this whole Congress. So the biggest issue at the November election was the border, and the border's been under control for several months now. We passed the One Big Beautiful Bill that has no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, increased child tax credits, increased tax incentives for small businesses. We are doing a lot of the things the American people have been saying they want from government, and now it's all ground to a halt. And for what? I mean, my office is still open and operating. My chief of staff is in Washington, D.C., running the office. All of my people are showing up. They're doing what they can to help people in Utah. But I'm in Congress, and I don't know what it is my colleagues want out of this shutdown, what the bargaining chip is. It seems like they just wanted to stop the forward progress.
Representative Malloy, are you hearing anything from your colleagues in the Senate about negotiations or conversations that are going on bipartisan to try to get this done, or are we still just locked into each side taking their and not supporting one another except to a very, very limited extent?
Right now, those negotiations are happening in the Senate, again, because the House already voted to fund the government. We passed it. I think the Senate Democrats lack the leadership right now to have a serious negotiation. Part of the reason this shutdown is going on and on is because I don't think Democrats have anyone on their side who can pull all the factions together and say, let's get serious. What exactly are we negotiating for? I think they shut down without having a plan, and everybody keeps saying this, but it's worth repeating because it's so true. It's easy to shut down the government. The hard part is reopening it, and I don't think they have a plan. I don't think they have, in the past when Republicans have gone into shutdowns, it's been for something. We want to repeal and replace Obamacare. We may not always get what we want, but we have a clear thing that we're negotiating for, and I don't see a clear thing on the Senate side or on the Democrat side right now. So Senate Democrats are just repeatedly voting to keep the government shut down, but they're not clearly articulating, we're voting again to shut it down because we don't have this thing yet.
So can I ask you about your staff? You said that your staff is still working. Am I correct in understanding that they are working without pay right now?
Yes, although on the House side, we get paid once a month. So they're not due for a paycheck until November 1st.
Okay, so they would, if you're still shut down, they would miss their November 1st paycheck.
Yep, like a lot of federal workers right now. They're still doing their jobs because there are things we have to do to keep the government running, but we haven't. The Senate side has not voted to pay them.
Your colleague Mike Kennedy introduced a bill that said basically if the government is shut down, then Congress people and senators wouldn't get paid. I don't know that that's going anywhere, but do you have any thoughts on that?
I get asked about that a lot. I think he's on to something. I think there's an innate sense of fairness here that is just offended by the idea that Congress can shut the government down and we still get paid. And I think Mike is rightly tapping into that. The reality is that the Constitution requires we get paid for our work. So to actually stop us all from getting paid would require a constitutional amendment, and that takes a 2/3 vote. We can't even get to a 60-vote threshold in the Senate right now on something. So it's definitely a conversation that everybody wants to have right now about how unfair this is. I would rather see us just do our job and make sure everybody's getting paid and get our appropriations bills done by the deadline. And we were so close this time. And if we reopened, we could have it done very quickly. Our appropriations bills, all 12 individual bills, like people have been asking for, are stacked and ready to go. And the Senate's quickly catching up.
Representative Malloy, we have about a minute left, but the Senate is meeting today and doing some business, and their confirmation hearings and things like that. House Speaker Johnson has sent most of the House members home. Is there any business that you believe should be going on, that you all could still be up there meeting and getting things done, or do you think this shutdown's really hamstrung a lot of what's supposed to be going on in Washington?
The most important item of business we have right now is funding the government. And like I say, we already passed that in the House. We already have our appropriations bills ready to go. There is a lot of committee work we're getting behind on. But if we were all sitting there in Washington, D.C. right now, while the government's shut down, we can't actually implement a lot of that anyway. But I think you'd be seeing a lot more members of Congress getting grouchy, getting bored, mixing it up with each other. Right now, we're in our districts, we're working, we're getting things done for our constituents. That's probably the most important thing we can do until the government's funded.
So I have one final question. I'm sorry, I know we're almost out of time. We are out of time, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I'm hearing that Senate Democrats are, one of the things that they're saying is they're not voting on the Republican bills because they want health care. Is that a reason? Is that the reason?
Well, it's not the reason they were saying before the shutdown. I think the media sort of created that reason for them afterward. But that is a large conversation we need to have. It's not the kind of thing that piggybacks on a 7-week continuing resolution.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for joining us. This is Representative Celeste Malloy joining us. When we come back, we're going to talk about President Trump, who's saying he's going to think about buying beef from Argentina to help combat high prices. But U.S. cattle producers feel like they have been sold out. We'll talk about the beef backlash after the break. And we're streaming live at KSLNewsRadio.com and on the app for KSL News Radio, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
It's the Medicare Advantage annual enrollment period, and Humana knows not everyone has the same needs when picking a Medicare Advantage plan.
Now that I'm retired, I want to enjoy the life I've worked hard to build. So I want a plan that covers me when I'm traveling the country.
Humana has a plan for that.
As a veteran, I want a plan that fills in the gaps my VA coverage doesn't provide, like dental care.
Humana has a plan for that.
I feel good about my health. I just want care and coverage with predictable costs. No surprises.
Humana has a plan for that. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you get coverage and benefits that focus on what matters most to you. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Cooler weather. What a relief, unless you have old drafty windows. Soon the heat will escape through the cracks and your energy bill's going to go through the roof. So now's the time to call Advanced Window Products and get brand new state-of-the-art custom windows and frames at factory direct pricing. The factory is right here in Salt Lake City, where they've been building precision windows since 1986, and you're going to save a lot of money since there's no middleman markup. You save 30, even 40% on your new windows. Even better, call now and they'll give you an extra $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Double pane argon-filled windows with a low-energy triple coating, any style, any color, and Advanced Windows gives you a lifetime warranty. If you have an issue, they're not 10 states away. They're right here in town, and they offer 0% 60-month financing. So make the call now. Get $2,500 off. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
You need another bathroom. You want a back patio retreat. We have a plan. If you're looking to start a home improvement project, a discounted home equity line of credit from Zions Bank is an easy, affordable way to turn your home's equity into opportunity. Stop by your local branch to get started or visit zionsbank.com/HELOC to learn more. Loan subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. See banker for details. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A., member FDIC, equal housing lender. NMLS number 467014.
Every time I turn around, my friends at Pure Talk give me one more reason to feel good about switching. This month, for instance, they're supporting Canines for Warriors, a terrific organization that trains rescue dogs and then pairs them up with combat veterans struggling with PTSD. The result? They're saving lives on both ends of the leash. This is why I switched to Pure Talk. I like being in business with an American wireless company who shares my values. Yeah, I appreciate unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data for just $25 a month, and I bet you will too. But I think you'll really appreciate doing business with a company who gives back to the men and women who volunteered to defend our country. Just dial pound 250, say micro. With Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team, you can switch in as little as 10 minutes. Again, dial pound 250, say micro, to switch to an American wireless company who actually stands for something. Pure Talk.
Utah Mammoth Hockey is back at Delta Center. Don't miss your chance to be part of the excitement as the Mammoth hit the ice all season long. Grab your friends, rally the family, and lock in your seats for the fast-paced, hard-hitting action. Great seats are available for most games, but they're selling fast. Head to UtahMammoth.com to get your tickets today. That's UtahMammoth.com. Your home for all things Mammoth Hockey.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Inside Sources.
Welcome back. A new international beef deal is stirring up outrage among American farmers. This comes after President Trump floated the idea to import beef from Argentina as a way to combat soaring prices.
The only price we have that's high is beef, and we'll get that down. And one of the things we're thinking about doing is beef from Argentina.
You have to wonder if this is a smart move or maybe a blow to the U.S. agriculture. U.S. cattle producers say the deal has, quote, sold them out, accusing Trump of prioritizing foreign farmers over American ones. And I don't know. I mean, you would have to feel like, hey, what's going on here? I think a lot of them have been blindsided by the whole thing, too.
Yep.
Here's President Trump responding to a reporter's question about concerns from U.S. farmers.
What do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are a top
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can, but don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying.
Well, that seemed very, very condescending for a person who said, what about American farmers?
Yeah, and didn't we just give Argentina
$20 billion
with another 20 if they elect the right president?
Yep. Something like that.
I mean, there's something going on there, and there may be some very good political reasons for that, but they've given the United States has given them a huge influx of resources, $20 billion, and a hook to give them another $20 billion if they elect their president.
You know, every once in a while, I'll wonder if this is a tipping point for people who previously supported President Trump, but who are now being deeply impacted. So soybean farmers are also impacted. But this is a statement. So today's the 21st. Yesterday, U.S. cattle producers issued a press statement that said, today the National Cattlemen's Beef Association responded to comments from President Donald J. Trump that suggested importing Argentinian beef as a solution to lower beef prices. NCBA's family farmers and ranchers are concerned that rewarding Argentina with this expanded access to the U.S. market harms American cattlemen and women while also interfering with the free market, calling it a plan that created chaos at a critical time of year for American beef producers. I mean, there's a lot out there, right? So Newsweek, that's the article that said farmers are outraged. They said that President Trump sold them out. I'm appalled that President Trump, who campaigned on how he loved farmers, is putting American farmers out of business by helping Argentina farmers first. That's somebody who's a cattle and crop farmer and founder of the National Black Farmers Association. Anyway, he said Trump set us up and sold us out.
And just a week ago, we were talking about U.S. soybean farmers feeling the same way because historically they've sold tons and tons and tons of soybeans to China. This year, zero. They haven't sold anything, and that makes a huge dent in what they're doing and their income as well. They've got to be upset. And I can understand the beef ranchers as well feeling like, hey, wait a minute, we're working so hard here, and you're buying it cheaper from Argentina to lower the prices. That hurts their pocketbooks as well.
It does hurt them. And, again, there are Republican legislators now who are saying, they felt blindsided. I'm looking at a Politico article. Farm state Republicans on Capitol Hill are privately and publicly livid that President Trump is considering importing Argentinian beef as a way to address high prices. They said they were completely blindsided by his announcement that he was looking into a deal with one of America's biggest competitors, right? So U.S. cattle ranchers compete with Argentinian cattle ranchers, and now they feel like they were just sold under the bus.
Yeah, and he indicated to the reporter they're dying, their economy's dying. There are certainly a lot of countries that could say the same thing.
Yes.
And some that we have sort of tariffed out of doing business with us. I don't know what the fascination is with Argentina. I mean, maybe somebody understands the politics behind that.
We do know the politics behind it. The president is a right-leaning, pretty far-right president. And he and Trump get along, right? So President Trump said, I like him.
Well, and I can understand wanting to have similar ideologies and support countries that have. I mean, we certainly support countries that are waning on democracy and other things like that. That we say, hey, wait a minute, we want you to have a democracy.
Well, we don't like Colombia or Venezuela right now, but we do like Argentina, apparently.
Yeah, and to the point where we are going to buy a ton of beef from them and impact American farmers.
We'll see. So I don't think there's anything officially in plan, but in the works, because again, this was an offhand comment on Sunday night. But Senator Deb Fischer, she's from Nebraska. She's publicly saying she has deep concerns. Something that she said. She said, the bottom line, if the goal is addressing beef prices at the grocery store, this isn't the way. This is going to hurt our beef market, of course. She also added that the U.S. has safe, reliable beef and warned that Nebraska's ranchers can't afford to have the rug pulled out from under them when they're just getting ahead or even just barely breaking even. So one of the other things about Argentinian beef, do you remember reading some news stories in the summer about the screwworm that infects cattle? Well, that comes from Argentina.
Ouch. That's not good.
It's really bad. It's a very dangerous parasite.
U.S. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins talked about like something you said a minute ago, which is this is just in the talk stage right now.
Right.
But beef prices are high. The administration's concerned about bringing them down. This could be a way to do that. Time out. Don't get too upset, American ranchers, because we're just trying to figure out a way to get prices down, and maybe we don't need to go down this route. But Argentina could be a source of beef, and it could help the price of beef here in the United States.
So one texter said they think that the reason there's such a friendly relationship is because the oil that Argentina has. And another one says, what happened to Trump's promise to make America great again? Right? He's making Argentina great, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, to the tune of $20 billion. Yeah, I mean, there are things going on that maybe we don't understand, and this is just talk at this point, trying to create some favor with the Argentinians and the government there and the people there who are maybe they are struggling, and maybe they do need a shot in the arm, and maybe the United States can do that.
That could be said for many countries around the world, as you pointed out earlier. But, it's interesting that even if it's just in the talk stage of saying, hey, maybe we'll just import beef from Argentina, the response has been really strong from legislators, from industry, from farmers who are just, I think, rocked back on their heels right now by this proposal to purchase beef from Argentina instead of from local farmers in the United States.
It's another one of those things, Holly, that you, like a day ago, would you have even had this or even thought you were going to have this conversation? And tomorrow, what are we going to be talking about? Something completely different.
This one is kind of close to home because it's Wyoming based. So I saw this actually on X So Wyoming-based cattle operation Meriwether Farm addressed Trump directly in a social media post yesterday, and they started by saying this: "We love you and support you, but your suggestion to buy beef from Argentina to stabilize beef prices would be an absolute betrayal to the American cattle rancher." And by the middle of the day today, the post had received 4 million views.
Yeah. Well, I think that cattle ranchers, farmers helped Trump get elected, so I don't know that he wants to hurt that base.
Well, speaking of the midterms, right?
Yeah. We're only about a year away from that.
That's right. So anyway, it's an interesting conversation, and I think that's something for sure that we're going to talk about. It continues to raise questions about trade policy, food security, political loyalty in farming communities for sure. So for the soybean farmers, for example, I know one of the things that President Trump has floated is we're going to give them a bailout. We're going to pay them with federal dollars because they lost their market because China stopped buying from them, right? So then I think it becomes really a kind of a tangled mess, right? It's like you impose tariffs. It totally bottoms out the market for some American producers, but then we're going to bail them out. Maybe if you hadn't imposed the tariffs, it wouldn't have happened.
There you go. When we come back, you mentioned ballots and midterms. Ballots have been mailed out, but in Utah County, some voters, so we do have municipal elections this year.
That's right.
And ballots have been mailed out, but in Utah County, some voters are finding that instructions don't match what's on the ballot. We'll talk about what that means and try to clear up the confusion with KSL TV's Daniel Woodruff when we come back. And remember, you can stream us on the KSL News Radio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. The Pine Valley Recreation Area is closed to the public after flash flooding left significant damage. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
Pictures posted by the U.S. Forest Service shows washed out roads, timber piles, and massive amounts of debris collected on picnic tables and camping spots. The Forest Service says the flooding happened last week and came from Hurricane Priscilla. They have their engineers working on clearing and fixing the area.
The area is located inside the Forsyth Burn Scar area. The fire burned more than 15,000 acres and left the area vulnerable to flooding. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Vice President Vance is in Israel today as the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas continues. He tells reporters that they don't know exactly when Hamas will disarm.
Right now, I feel very optimistic. Can I say with 100% certainty that it's going to work? No. But you don't do difficult things by only doing what's 100% certain. You do difficult things by trying, and that's what the President of the United States has asked us to do.
U.S. officials are cautiously optimistic that the ceasefire will hold. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 285 points. The S&P is up 3 points. And coming up, highs in the 60s. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Utah can count on.
I'm Jenny Oaks Baker, and I invite you to Joy to the World.
It was sacred, exquisitely beautiful, and Jenny's talent on the violin is unmatched.
Featuring choirs, dancers, and My Children musical group, Family 4. plus world-renowned mezzo-soprano Angela Brower, and celebrated baritone and narrator Preston Yates.
Was just like emotionally stirring. The dancers, the singers, Jenny and her family, just bringing to life the beautiful music.
Experience a Christ-centered Christmas as we proudly support Light the World.
It's so beautiful to see how they use all of their talents to just testify of the Savior.
Get your tickets for Joy to the World, a sacred celebration at JennyOaksBaker.com.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Help DEA keep our communities safe and healthy by participating in National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, Saturday, October 25th. Take action right in your own home by cleaning out your medicine cabinet of unneeded medications. Keep them safe, clean them out, take them back. Find a collection site near you at DEATakeback.com. Do your part to lower overdose deaths and prevent prescription drug misuse before it starts. That's DEATakeback.com.
Emergency traffic and weather together, brought to you by Mountain America. Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Here's Heather Kelly.
This is for drivers on eastbound I-80 coming over from the airport to I-15. We had a vehicle on fire. That fire's been put out, but we still have the left lane and shoulder blocked just before you get to the ramps that'll take you to 6 South in downtown Salt Lake or continue southbound I-15. Now, originally 2 left lanes of the freeway were closed and traffic is almost stopped all the way back to the west side belt. So it's that now that they've opened up one of the center lanes, traffic will start moving again. But right now, you're still at a crawl for a couple of miles between the west side belt and I-15. Common Spirit hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advanced healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 61 today with mostly sunny skies. We'll see some cloud coverage tomorrow with chances for a storm at night, but then the sun is back after that. Highs remain in the mid-60s this week. Right now, 49 in Fair. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So Election Day is only 2 weeks away. 2 weeks from today, believe it or not, will be November 4th, Election Day for 2025. That's municipal elections and then school board down in Utah County where I live. And speaking of Utah County, there's
a little confusion.
There is a lot of confusion actually, and I have my ballot. It's open on my kitchen counter, and this story, of course, piqued my interest, and I'm like, oh yeah, I see this.
We're going to bring in KSL TV's Daniel Woodruff to talk about that, but let's listen to a bit of his story before we do that.
It was very confusing.
When Liz Rice got her ballot in the mail, it came with this warning that failure to include the last 4 digits of her driver's license or social security number means her ballot may not be counted.
And yet there was no place on the ballot to put that.
Janelle Tuttle noticed the same thing.
So when I opened it up, I thought, wait, what? Confusion all over.
The 4-digit requirement is part of a new Utah voter ID law. It hasn't taken effect yet, but counties can put a space for those digits on the ballot if they want. Utah County did that for the primary election back in August, but County Clerk Aaron Davidson didn't like it.
We identified 790 ballots where the signature did not match, but the 4 digits did.
So he took that spot off the ballot for this election, but still included these instructions that had already been printed for voters.
We didn't want to go through and spend, more tax money printing more instructions and not getting that discount. So we figured we would just go ahead and send out the the instructions the way they are and just deal with the questions during the general election.
So, here, gosh. Okay, so here's the issue. What are voters supposed to do? We have KSL 5 TV's Daniel Woodruff on the line. Daniel, what are voters supposed to do?
Well, you heard the county clerk. If there are questions, call the county elections office. And I asked him if this is worth, saving money on printing instructions that are incorrect versus not, and, being economical about it. And he said he felt that his office could handle questions and confusion surrounding this. And I asked him if he'd gotten a lot of calls, and he said he'd gotten some, not a lot. But those that we spoke with said they were very confused. And one woman in particular said that she has been bombarded by calls from others because she's a candidate for office as well as a voter. And she said all these people that are calling her are confused about this because on the one hand, the instructions say, please list your 4 digits of your social or your driver's license. And on the other hand, there's no spot for it anywhere on the ballot.
Yeah, so my follow-up question to that is he said he didn't want to go to the extra expense to reprint the instructions and that they haven't had maybe that many calls. But I wonder how many voters are going to look at that and say, well, I guess my ballot's not going to count because I can't put it on there.
That's a concern that was brought up to us, and I brought that to the county clerk and asked him if he was actually worried that people might choose not to vote because this may be too complicated. He felt that was a very remote possibility, not a high one. But I think with voting, in this case, as we've talked to people who have looked at their ballots, they want to make sure they're doing it correctly so that there's no chance of their ballot not being counted. And in this case, you've got conflicting instructions.
So it sounds like the good news is that whether you add the 4 digits or not, your ballot's probably going to be counted. The bad news you just mentioned, Daniel, something I hadn't thought about. Some voters might think, I don't even know that it's worth voting. My ballot may not be counted in the first place. Some people may not vote, correct?
Well, and the reality is this is a municipal election, so the turnout's generally lower than a presidential one. And I think as we talked to one woman in particular who, like I said, is both a candidate and a voter, she felt like this would just be a deterrent for people potentially who look at it and think, oh, it's not worth trying to figure it out. The good news, though, and people should understand this, if you live in Utah County, the big takeaway is you do not have to list your 4 digits. All you need to do is have a valid signature to get that ballot to be accepted and counted. No other instructions notwithstanding, that is what you need to do, is simply sign your ballot and turn it in as normal. There is no requirement for a 4-digit this election cycle.
So I saw online that Senator Mike McKell had an opinion on that. Do you want to address that?
Senator Mike McKell is a Republican from Spanish Fork. He's the Senate Majority Assistant Whip in the Utah Senate. And he was actually the sponsor of this voter ID law that is eventually going to require us to list our 4 digits. That actually doesn't take effect formally until 2029. But I reached out to him about Utah County, and he's had a number of tiffs, I would characterize it, with the county clerk in the past. But he, in a statement to me, Senator McKell, said he felt this was a deliberate problem, that the county clerk, he said, is politicizing the ballot, as he has done since he entered office. And Senator McKell went on to say that he felt like this is a confusing message to send to voters, and he called it unfortunate. So Senator McKell had a lot of criticism for Aaron Davidson in particular, blaming him for this fiasco. Davidson, when I asked him for comment to that, he said that he's simply trying to preserve election integrity by calling attention to problems that he sees with the voter ID law. And like he said earlier, he doesn't want to go to the expense of printing instructions and costing taxpayers.
So I have a question about a stamp on the ballot. Is that still an issue in Utah County? Because it has been before.
They have on the instructions, they tell you about how to put it in the Postal Service, but they warn you that it has to be in by a certain time or it won't be counted. And I think, if I remember correctly, looking at the instructions, there was some sort of encouragement to not use the Postal Service. We know that the county clerk there has been very critical of using the Postal Service to vote by mail.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Daniel. That was KSL TV's Daniel Woodruff.
And it's ironic or coincidental, or I don't know what you want to call it, that one of the more controversial elections clerks in the state is also from Utah County, it seems.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of controversy with him at the last election.
So one of the things with putting a stamp on the ballot is actually you don't have to in Utah County. They try to make it look like you have to put a stamp on, but actually the county will pay for it. You can just drop it in the mailbox. But to Daniel's point, and we've talked to the lieutenant governor about this, there was a new law that passed that is in effect this election cycle that says the ballots have to be in the hands of the county clerks by 8 p.m. on election day. And so what that means is you have to mail it early. If you're going to mail it and not use a drop box or vote in person, you have to mail it probably by mid next week just to make sure that it's there and doesn't trickle in after the election.
And you and I have had the privilege of moderating municipal debates in the last week. And I think that it's important, as I was there and yours was last night, people are showing up. People are paying attention. I mean, these are not midterms. They're off-term elections.
Right.
I mean, these are municipal elections. They happen on an odd off cycle, and we don't usually get a lot of attention to those. But it seems like we're getting a lot this year.
Yeah, and I think they're important elections, right? It's when you talk about all government is local, all politics is local, this is where literally the rubber meets the road. This is where your potholes get fixed. This is where you make decisions on whether you can have chickens in your backyard or what kind of housing units you're going to have in that area. So these elections are very important. And then, as I mentioned, down in Utah County, we are splitting Alpine School District into 3. And so voters down there also will be picking these new school boards.
Right. And I really enjoyed the debate that I moderated because the candidates, there were 5 for this particular position, 5 people were running and all of them were excited about it. And it was just, I don't know, I love the debate process, except when I'm one of the candidates. not quite as fun then.
All right, one last segment. The East Wing of the White House, or at least part of it, is being demolished to make room for a new ballroom, and not everyone is pleased. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break.
Hey guys, it's Woodrow from Mint Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with ED? Well, you are not alone, and now there's a real solution that treats the root cause, not just the symptoms. Introducing our Trifecta approach, a breakthrough combination of acoustic wave therapy, hormone replacement, and cryotherapy, all designed to restore blood flow, boost performance, and rebalance your hormones. Whether it's ED or hormonal imbalance, if you're ready to reignite your love life, this treatment helps bring back your energy, your drive, and your confidence. And right now, when you call, you'll receive a free consultation, a blood flow ultrasound, and an intimacy gift. That's a $650 value, absolutely free. And here's the bonus. The next 20 callers will also receive a 5-night stay at a luxury resort in Hawaii just for taking the first step. But you must call now. With 2 convenient locations in Layton and Sandy, help is closer than you think. Call 801-804-8000 now. That's 801-804-8000. Mint Medical Clinic. We'll get you back to mint condition.
The following is a test of the emergency alert system.
My perfect day has sand, salt, water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Can we talk about something difficult to discuss? Are you going through a difficult financial time? You have equity in your home, but nobody can help? American Home Loans has created the Bridge Loan Program to use your equity regardless of your credit at this time. The bridge loan can be used to pay debts, collections, IRS liens, divorce settlements, or home improvements. Call at 801-262-2221. That's 262-2221. This loan creates a bridge between now and a much brighter future. After COVID, one of their clients had over $85,000 in credit cards. Their scores were too low to borrow on their home. American Home Loans was able to save them $2,000 a month. And after 8 months, they qualified for a conventional loan and lowered their payments. The consultation is free and confidential. Please call them and see what they can do for you. The number is 801-262-2221. It's 262-2221, or go to AmericanHomeLoans.com. AmericanHomeLoans.com. NMLS 245422, Equal Housing Lender.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Tree Utah is dedicated to improving quality of life in Utah, now and for future generations, through tree planting, care, and education. By working with communities, they support biodiversity, promote clean air, and advance sustainable forestry. Executive Director Amy May joins us with more.
At Tree Utah, we believe that planting trees is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to create a healthier, more beautiful Utah. Since 1989, we've planted over 400,000 trees with the help of more than 185,000 volunteers across the state. We collaborate with schools, businesses, and community groups to plant trees in public spaces, including city parks, school playgrounds, and restoration sites. Our ecological restoration efforts focus on planting native trees along the Jordan River corridor and in the Wasatch Mountain canyons to support local ecosystems, wildlife habitats, and climate resilience. Through educational programs, we engage students from kindergarten to college, providing hands-on learning experiences about the importance of trees, conservation, and environmental stewardship. Whether you're planting your first tree or your 100th, join us in making Utah a greener, healthier place to live, work, and play. Learn more about corporate partnerships and volunteer opportunities at treeutah.org.
Tree Utah's impact reaches far beyond planting trees. Their work is a vital reminder that thoughtful action today can shape a more sustainable and beautiful Utah for generations to come. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit rain.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
The new Inside Sources.
So, Caitlin Johnston is joining us, or joining me. Greg had to jump out for a second. But look, I want to talk about the White House, the White House demolition. So yesterday, you see these big, gigantic construction equipment literally tearing through part of the east wing of the White House. And it's where President Trump wants to build his new ballroom. One of the things that's interesting, though, besides that the pictures are like kind of heartbreaking, to be honest, in July, when he announced that he was going to build a ballroom, he said that the ballroom would not interfere with the mansion at all. Quote, "It will be near, but not touching it, and pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of," he said of the White House. And I guess he changed his mind.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen these pictures and it all this morning. You know, you just see the construction, the equipment just tearing through this building. And the argument there is, it needs to be modernized. But it also, this is a historical, building here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of heartbreaking to see at the same time. But I actually learned that President Trump's granddaughter has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And so I kind of float through that sometimes, and they released about an hour-long video of them just golfing together. It's interesting to see him as grandpa, but sometimes she asks him questions in that about certain things, and she asked him about the ballroom thing, and basically he just said, "We're just making it look better." And I don't know, there's conflicting things about it, but does it need to be modernized, or are you just kind of destroying something? I guess it's a question there.
Well, one of the things, actually, we have a little soundbite. Let's play that. It's ABC's Nicole D'Antonio with a little bit more.
The remodel has been met with criticism from some Democrats. One senator writing, quote, "Seeing the White House torn apart is really emblematic of the times we're in." The White House firing back, saying, quote, "Losers who are quick to criticize need to stop their pearl clutching and understand the building needs to be modernized." Since taking office in January, President Trump has made numerous changes to the White House, including adding decorations he says are made with 24-karat gold leaf. His administration has installed 88-foot flagpoles, paved over the Rose Garden, and swapped out presidential portraits, even replacing President Biden's with a photo of his auto-pin signature.
Yeah, so there actually is a process. So the White House is not something that President Trump owns, right? That's not his property. It's actually the people's house. So we, the people, own that house. And there is a process that they're supposed to go through. So, for example, there's a committee that's the National Capital Planning Commission. They're supposed to approve any construction work or major renovations to government buildings in the Washington area. They have not given approval, and now you can see construction or demolition has started.
How is that possible? How is this happening? I guess is my question. They just do it. Well, and you think about the long-term effects of this, you know, because he's only president for 4 years. I mean, I guess 8 with his other term. But he's making changes that are, you know, lifelong for the life of the White House and for many to come. So I just question, how is this even? They're just doing what they want to do, I guess.
Yeah, and, you know, I've seen some comments online where saying, you know, you don't do a $250 million addition on a house you plan to leave in 3 years.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that. It's just this is he thinks he's making it better. But, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, what this, you know, outcome looks, because maybe he is making it better, and it's just what needs to be done. Who knows? But the cost of this, isn't it $250 million? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, and he's saying it's being funded by himself and generous patriots who are paying for that it's not taxpayers. But the house itself, the White House, is something that I think the people of the United States can say, look, this rightly belongs to we the people, and you're basically there as a renter for 4 years, right? And then you'll be out.
Right. And I guess just the question is, like, is this should this be the priority at the moment, I guess, is what I wonder as well. I'm not trying to, you know, bash on it at all, but I just, you know, you always have questions. You question everything. Why is this what's being put into focus?
I wanted to know what was in that part that was being demolished, and it holds the the First Lady's offices. There's actually a bomb shelter in that area. There's a calligraphy office, but it's also the area where visitors enter. That's the visitors' entrance for special events and stuff.
I did not know that. Have you been to the White House?
I have.
I have not, but I wonder what's like when you go to that. Paint a picture of kind of what that feeling's like when you go there, because it's actually on my bucket list to go to DC and explore.
So I think it's probably been 15 years. And so there was a huge process before we even left. I went as a chaperone for a school trip, and we had to have all of our information in at least a month in advance so that we could be cleared to be on the visitors list. We had to be signed in, and then there's a specific way that you go in, right? So they bring you in. We went during President Obama's term, and this is not common, but we were able to see down a hallway that President Obama was leaving out a door to get on Marine One, the helicopter. But so the kids got to see that, which was kind of fun. And then they take you through a tour, right? You get to see some of the things that are there. But it was very, very tightly controlled, and I expect that now it's even more tightly controlled. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's so much history there, right? You've got the Lincoln bedroom. You've got, of course, you have the Oval Office, and you have all these other offices that show up in movies, but also in American history. So it was really a great opportunity. And, you know, we'll see if the ballroom is a great addition or not, but it's underway, whether he had approval or not, it's underway.
Right. And I guess people who visit it and after this point will see the new part of history that he is making a mark in history by redoing this. So it'll be new. So.
I think I understand that they have shut down tours for the public while they're doing this project.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Okay, I do have to share with you, we have quite a long text from a texter who was out of service but wanted to thank us for covering the beef announcement. And they say they're one of the people who supported President Trump, thinks he can still do many good things, but this is not one of them. He's throwing us under the bus, the American farmers and ranchers. And then this person says, we have 1,200 head of cattle, 6,000 head of sheep, year-round ranching operation in Wyoming. We've had to drastically reduce our herd size to accommodate the severe excess number of, quote, wild horses that are dominating the grasses and destroying the water sources and habitat. Our business has been in a state of forced reduction as we try to manage the resources in our care and maintain rangeland conditions. So why don't we spend some of that $20 billion that they're dishing out to Argentina on American farmers and ranchers? Anyway, they say, please don't cut off the hand that feeds the mouth. There must be some other solutions.
Yeah, no, that's great that people are texting in. If you have more personal experience on how this is affecting you, you can always text us at 57500. I think that's really important to hear personal stories.
Yeah. So we only have a couple more minutes, but I have a couple of fun facts of the day. So today, what is today? It is American Frog Day.
What does that mean?
it means we get to celebrate the American frog. So yay for us. On this day in history, though, I do have to say, the Battle of Trafalgar was won. It was Horatio Nelson that led the British fleet to victory. He also died in battle, but on this day in 1805. On this day in 1833, Alfred Nobel was born, and of course you know him as...
I don't know.
The Nobel Prize creator, right?
Okay.
Duh. But the other one that I learned about after I knew him as the creator of the Nobel Prize, he was the inventor of dynamite. And then he, as I understand it, he regretted that invention, and so he really focused on how can I improve the world, right? And so that's how the genesis of the Nobel Prize.
I did not know any of this. Whenever you list your facts, I'm like, this is a new history lesson every single day, and you have to explain it to me like I'm 5 years old.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So, do you remember the person who refused to get up her seat on the bus?
Rosa Parks. Yeah, sorry, my brain's slow.
So before that, actually, there was somebody else, and it was in 1955. She was only 18. Her name was Mary Louise Smith, and she was arrested for refusing to give up her seat in the whites-only section of the Montgomery City bus, but it did not have the same kind of impact as Rosa Parks did a couple of years later, a little bit later.
I had no idea about that. I thought that Rosa Parks was the one and only first one, I guess. Yeah.
Nope. And then in 2021, this is the day that actor Alec Baldwin accidentally shot a cinematographer and killed her.
Tragic day.
Tragic day.
Lots of coverage.
All right.
That.
That is it for Inside Sources today. We're next will be Midday with Maria Shalea. So stay with us on KSL News.